Calling to order the Municipality of Monroeville's first 2023 budget hearing. Today is October 27th, 2022, approximately 6:30 p.m. As per our home rule charter here in Monroeville, we have to have two public budget hearings. This is the first of two. Our second one is going to be held next Thursday, November 3rd. And also, council can discuss and deliberate, and there's opportunities for the public to address council on all budget matters this evening at the next budget hearing, and also at the subsequent agenda-setting meeting, citizens' night, and council regular meeting. So we're going to open it up, and we're going to start with our presentations from our department heads. This evening, we're going to be hearing from the TV 15 department from Jared Robinson, the IT department from Tina Mueller, the library from Nicole Henline, the finance department with Josie Rock. The fire chiefs are all here in attendance this evening, and then our police chief, Doug Cole, will round it out for the evening. And then council can discuss budget items at that time. Is there anyone from the public that would like to address council on budget issues only? If there's anyone from the community that would like to address council on budget items, seeing none, we're going to close that comment period and move over to our department heads. Jared Robinson from our TV department, he's on his way. He had to get the show started, get the show on the road, but he will be joining us in a moment. Council, anyone have any comments or questions about the budget at this point?
All of council is in attendance.
And all of council is in attendance this evening. We don't need a roll call vote, but all of council is in attendance, along with the municipal manager and the department heads that I mentioned earlier.
Did the fellas play the Jeopardy music when you were Jared?
I'm sure you can pipe that in later.
Okay.
It's only 2 floors.
Take his time.
So council, we're going to go to our expenditures in your budget, and we'll get to Jared's section.
It's the last page. Under expenditure.
101.
Page 101 in the budget. The budget is available on the municipal website.
There he
There's Jared.
One is an expenditure.
Glad to make sure everything got underway.
Very good.
That's Jared's.
Well, welcome, Mr. Robinson. The floor is yours for your budget. We're already on the expenditure page for 101, if that's where you wanted to start, or unless you had a different...
We'll get there for
Starting
sure. Before we got to 23, I just wanted to kind of recap what has transpired for us for 22.
Great.
So we've had a good year in my estimation. Anytime I get up here, I'm always talking about producing more content, churning out more content. And I feel like we were able to do that this year. For all of our trackable metrics, all of our numbers are up in terms of engagement, viewership, number of content, length of content, all of our metrics are up. So definitely pleased with how that's went. And for a little feather in our cap, we actually won 3 of these. This is a Greater Pittsburgh Community Media Award.
All right, fantastic.
Thank you. So we actually won 3 of these collectively as a department. So first time we submitted content for that, and we're certainly pleased that we were able to come with some hardware. So yeah, 22's been good for us.
Well, that's fantastic news, Jared, and of course, yeah, you have that award sitting there for council to see as we're going through your budget here, so I'm sure most things are going to get okay here.
I think the carpet just turned red.
Right.
It came out in the red carpet.
But excellent job. We're super proud of what you're doing down there, and keep up the good work.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that for sure. So looking to 23, we are looking to keep the momentum going for sure. And as it relates to the budget, my budget typically stays the same, and there isn't much that is going to change this year as well. So you said you started going through some of the line items. A lot of these at the top portion, I don't really control. It's just kind of numbers either finance puts in or just kind of numbers that are predetermined related to, insurance or what have you. So my requests usually start around, let's see where we're at here, 247, video and photo equipment. So if we start there and go down, nothing has changed in terms of a request for an increase until we get to, let's see here, 420, dues and memberships. It was a $50 increase there, and that's just related to those fees going up. And then I think the big one was for equipment, so that would be $740. So that is about a $2,200 increase there. The reason for that is, I guess it's kind of related to the capital improvement budget. And so, we had proposals and discussions, and that process is still ongoing. But if that were to fall through in terms of what we requested for the TV department, then that is what this request is for, because I would at least like to be able to replace one of our cameras, if at all possible. So it's actually this camera, the eye in the sky. So those cameras run anywhere from like $2,000 to $2,500.
And those are original, are they not?
I'm sorry?
Those are original, at least.
They go back a ways.
Right.
They
They're
predate
over
me
20.
for sure.
Yeah, and that's certainly an important one. We use it at all of our meetings. Planning
Right.
Commission uses it, Zoning Hearing Board uses it, so that's definitely an
Right.
important one to.
So that's what that was for. So I feel it necessary to say here also, if we were granted some of the things that we asked for under the capital improvements, then that would necessitate for that $2,200 increase there. So it just kind of depends on how everything goes, how everything transpires, and what you all decide. And that's really it. Just those two that I was requesting increases for. Like I said, everything else is going to stay the same.
It's good.
Council, any questions?
Have
Yeah,
none.
I do have a
Mr.
question.
Williams.
On that camera over your head there, I suspect that you can't buy any parts to fix that if it goes bad.
So, to be quite frank, there's nothing wrong with it except for it's just outdated. So, actually, you all can attest to it. When somebody puts something up here,
Yeah.
it's hard to see. Like, it's hard to discern. People have plans and projects for properties, and those lines and such it's hard to distinguish, kind of what is what. So.
Camera.
Yeah, so a camera with, a higher visual fidelity, it would
Better
be,
zoom anyway, huh?
for sure, all that.
Well, my other question would be, if that camera could go kaput, what would you do? Just not have that camera?
Or how
Well,
long would it take to replace it?
seeing how that camera is important, I probably could use one of the other ones that are in the room, but
Okay.
then it would, take away from another function for one of those cameras.
But I think, Jared, if I'm remembering your capital requests correctly, some of the technological improvements in the control room
Yeah.
will also improve our ability, if people submit things to us digitally ahead of time, which would probably be something we can start to, more accurately require, you'd be able to also counter, but still, people still show up with stuff, to do that too. So that's obviously very essential, but you're gonna have, you talked about in the capital side, that whole improvement down there. I mean, maybe just refresh my memory a little bit again, how you talked about integrating a lot of the new improvements.
So, so what I requested under capital as it relates to the control room was basically a full overhaul. So the major components were the video switcher, the audio board, monitor wall, and those are the main hardware components. Then from there, you have all of the secondary and ancillary components related to cameras, and then things like conduit and cabling and just making sure everything is wired in such a way that everything runs sufficiently like it's supposed to.
Yeah, that's late 1980s, early 90s technology.
A lot of it is, yeah, our amplifier that powers the speaker out in the hallway, that thing's probably about 30 years old.
Okay. So, all right, great. So this integrates then with your plans. It's sort of a backup to.
Right, yeah, well, I mean,
Okay.
we would be able to do lots of things. We'd be able to, live stream, we'd be able to provide closed captioning, we'd be able to, a slew of
Yeah,
things.
we really need to do that too.
Yeah, I actually had,
An ADA issue.
yeah, a slew, yeah, we'd be able to provide a great deal of services as it relates to live meetings and such that we currently don't provide.
But your operating budget looks.
Jared,
questions?
one question.
Yes, sir.
And it appears to be under your power. Miscellaneous, $1,400. What is miscellaneous and what is it used for?
So that is a line item that, and a figure under that line item that I inherited essentially. And so it's just stayed with that figure, until now. So I just kind of carry that over.
Well,
So
have you used that money?
I have not.
That's going to be my question, yeah.
So is miscellaneous necessary for your department?
So it's one of those things where I can say no because I haven't used it, but it's one of those situations where something may arise that I haven't encountered yet. So, because I've been on this job 2+ years. So just kind of, if there's something that I haven't encountered because that money was put in there for something
Yeah,
at some
just-
point in time.
And if we look back at the history, so all of 2021, $92 was spent out of it. So it's not a lot, so it's probably something that's almost like a petty cash type thing where something maybe comes up that doesn't fit in your other categories, but.
Right.
And you haven't spent anything out of that for this year up to the end of September.
I can
Correct.
tell you what it's for. It's just about every department has it.
Right.
And it is for anything that maybe doesn't fit appropriately in the other line items. We've tried to cover pretty much everything, but, like he says, there's things that come up that, you don't expect, and it isn't part of what we already have budgeted. So that's like kind of a catch-all, maybe.
Well, how is that tracked? How do we know if it's spent or not spent?
Well, it's the actual column, so, in '21, he had $92 in it. So far this year, there's nothing.
Well, no, there's $1,400, but nothing has been spent.
Right, there's nothing that's been spent.
In '22, there was zero in there. So why did it go from 0 to 1,400?
The 22 was
No, it's
14.
always been.
No.
0 was the actual. So
Yeah.
you're, if you look at all the 19, 20, 21, and 22, there's an actual spent. And then next to that is the budget from 22, and then the budget from 23.
Yeah, so
That
he didn't spend.
typically remains consistent.
Right.
So it was probably about that amount all those years as well.
Right,
Right.
exactly.
It just wasn't used in any other year,
Didn't use it last.
other than 21.
Correct, yeah.
So then does that go back in the general fund
Excess? No.
if it's not used?
Technically, everything that doesn't get spent.
Basically, yeah, because we're not,
Goes back into the
the,
fund balance?
the actual clearly isn't the budget. So when we have when we reconcile the year and get the audit, whatever remains, whether, plus or minus, that goes to the general fund balance. So yes.
After all.
Anything else, Mr. Stevenson?
No, thank you.
Council, anything else for Jared?
One question, the contract services, what exactly is that for?
So I use that for some of our annual fees. We have a technical support and care package that charges annually. Any of our engineering services who come in to either look at maintenance, our equipment, and any other annual subscriptions we have. We have a editing software suite that gets lumped into that. That's $650 per year. We have a graphics package, that's, part of editing. That's about $300 per year. So usually our annual contractual things that we have and any service that we have during the year for
Okay.
any equipment.
Is YouTube,
I was just curious to see what contract we needed.
And those ended up being significantly less in previous years as well. That's what it looks like.
Council, anything else?
That's it.
Yeah, I think it's important to mention too, as far as on the income side or the revenue side, that we do receive money through cable TV taxes and fees from Verizon and Comcast,
Right.
correct? So approximately it's
Yeah.
about $600,000 a year. This year we're scheduled to be like 588, I think, and then we're budgeted for '23 to receive 630,000, which helps offset your budget.
Right. For
So I
sure.
just wanted to mention that as well for
That
for
actually
public knowledge.
covers his budget.
oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I mean, yeah, it's that, so it definitely covers it,
We
and
take gavel.
an extra $300,000 or $400,000. So, just so everyone is aware. But Jared,
appreciate
great
that.
job, keep up the good work. Do you want to leave the award to flash it for the other department heads? or
We'll
do you
take that downstairs. It looks good
want-
downstairs.
It does, but congratulations
Hurry up.
again.
Congratulations.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thank you.
congratulations.
Good work. Leave that up so Doug can look at that.
There you go. But great job, great job.
Yeah, thank you all very much.
Mr. Mayor, where is that award displayed? Is it
We got-
displayed somewhere
Jared's desk.
publicly? If not, can we have somewhere? I mean, that's pretty nice.
Maybe we'll find a good home for it.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think we should have more of a
Cabinet
public
or something.
display for it than
Yeah.
downstairs, Jared. What do you think?
That works for me.
Sounds like a miscellaneous cost.
There you go. Trophy case.
Display case.
Trophy case.
There we go. We just started.
Problem solved. Okay, very good. Thanks, Jared. Folks, we're going to move right along. We're going to ask Tina Mueller to come up from the IT department.
Page we on now.
I have to wait till someone gets all his bling out of here.
If you'd only known, right? You could've
Yeah,
You could have brought yours.
I'm sorry, I don't have any awards
No, that's fine.
to show.
So, Tina, what page are we starting on?
We are on expenditures, page 23. And I'm sorry, we don't have any revenue. So, there's a few changes this year, so I'll just go through and point them out. Again, as Jared pointed out, the ones that have to do with salary or benefits, like the healthcare and stuff, that's all predetermined because of, other costs. Fixed benefit costs, as we say, right? So I can't really do anything about those. We have a general office supplies budget, which I'm not increasing. We have a computers and servers budget, which every year we upgrade some of the computers so that every 5 years we try to upgrade all of the computers. Next year, we're doing a few more than we did this year, so this is up a little next year. We're asking for a little more. We are also upping the telecommunications budget, and you may notice that every department is upping that. We've been kind of going over that budget every year because of just various things that just have increased over time, internet bills and that sort of thing. And we have reevaluated everybody, so everybody's just going to go up a little bit. Then, unfortunately, there's one that I asked for under contract services that you had just talked about with Jared. I'm going to have to actually ask for more money on that one. I'm going to have to actually ask for 20,000 more than it says there, so that'll be going up to 100,000. And I know that's kind of big. So what I did, and I believe they left you guys all a copy, and it was also on your little website, listing exactly everything that's covered under there. And it is all yearly or, several yearly support contracts for various pieces of software we have or pieces of hardware we have. So that's all listed. I mean, this is things like our staffing software, our computer backup, our cybersecurity, our email and anti-spam, network services, our website, just everything has a support contract. So it all costs money. And it does look like a lot, but really it's These are sort of necessary costs. Your alternative to it is not having a support contract, and then when something goes wrong, you're paying considerably more. So it's kind of a risky game, like an insurance sort of thing, where you get the support contract so that you can be covered. But those are the only increases.
Yeah, Tina, do you have any plans on change back to contracted services and changes for some of the, this would include some of the Microsoft products and things that we normally use, first of all, right? That's correct. We're talking about the same thing.
Well, yeah, it's
License
really
fees.
the bigger picture kind of things, because we, as far as our, like, our operating systems and such, we buy those with the computers when we buy the computers. And Microsoft Office as well. Although there has been some pressure to go to Office 365, which is the online version of Office. We don't feel like we have to do it just yet. We're going to hold off a little bit on that. But some of these other things that we absolutely have to,
So essentially, you're holding the line on that one.
well, we're 2019, which is one of the more, I know that sounds terrible, but it is one of the more recent ones there. So to go to the cloud version of it, essentially, for those of you who are curious, you start paying per month then. So you're like, it's a service, like all these other services. Right now, we buy it initially, and then we don't have to pay for it anymore, so we can have a longer life with it and be saving money.
Where I'm going with it has been, of course, since the 19 version, what we have that's in place is, we had to magically figure out how to work from home to do that.
Right.
So the reason I'm bringing that up is a cost analysis of, supposing we have to do it again, and the services that we have available, it's a little bit hard. I mean, we use, web-based mail and stuff like that, it's okay, as opposed to us being able to turn the switch, and now our folks only have to access.
Well, I will
65
tell you that we did, we had a remote access software.
Right.
And we kind of increased the number of licenses we had. So we can have a lot of people working from home now. They essentially connect into their computer at work.
The VPN into
And use their office that's on their work computer. So that worked pretty well for the people who did work, at least
because we have a
partially
smaller
from home
number,
during the
yeah.
pandemic. Yeah, we don't have a lot, none of the public works people really, well, except for the administrative staff, have to come in. The police don't really dial in like that. They already dial into their software. So
Right.
it was really just the office staff that had to use it. We will probably have to go to Office 365 because it seems like Microsoft might be just dropping support for this.
Yeah, that was my sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, that, like, we're on the cusp of it. So-
We are, and I think we probably are going to have to think about doing that.
So
but
at this point-
I'm not sure we have to this next coming year.
Okay, so at this point, you're making actually a suggestion to keep a savings, to keep things balanced out as opposed to.
I think so. There's a couple other things that I had to add in here, like we're probably going to have to buy the new backup software this year. That's one of the yearly support costs that we're putting in there. And there's just a couple other things going on now, so I was kind of holding off on that. But I did actually mention it to Tim that there's a couple things that I thought, well, as far as long-term future plans, we're probably going to have to go to that. So if you guys if you think that's important, we can go to that this coming year, but
If we can hold it for a little while.
see, that's exactly what I was
Right,
saying.
if we can hold it for a little while, that's okay.
We will probably have to be aware that we're probably going to have to go to that, and then it becomes a monthly cost instead of a one-time cost. And then, of course, it's always updated. But then you're probably going to also have to update your internet speed or, your bandwidth, because then more people will be going and using the internet because they'll use it every time they run Office.
Right.
So there's trade-offs, and I think Microsoft's going to force us at some point. So, keep it in mind,
And
but I
also
don't
it-
think we have to do it just yet.
And also whatever the suite will include, 365, the options that you have, because then it can or cannot include like our video conferencing and all that other stuff that's part of it, suite as opposed to having the separate licenses that we have for.
The remote, we could probably get rid of the remote at that time, and we could probably switch from Zoom to the Microsoft Teams. And that would save us, that'd save us a little bit, probably not the cost of what it would cost, so it's,
But you're really, like I said, all the extra stuff that's in here, this big increase was predominantly for. because it's
predominantly
forced
for,
on us.
we're now outside web services, and our citizen reporting software, which is still not quite where we need it to be, but, and then a couple things that just came up this year that we had been paying for every 3 years. want to try to switch it to yearly now because it's kind of hard to account for that giant chunk every 3 years.
Right, and Tim, you brought us the web stuff we saw already. So a large, that was, so we've up, I don't know that everybody's as aware of it that doesn't look at the municipal website, but that was a cost, it's a huge improvement, you know, over
It's
what
a
we had in the past.
great site, yeah.
And that also, in the past, we've had staff doing our website and updating it. So really, there's some money we're saving on personnel and person power.
Right.
So we
Person
can
time,
direct
yeah.
person
Man
time.
hours, yeah.
Yeah, exactly, but directing them towards something that, other things that would need to be done.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, that's
So we're basically
absolutely.
outsourcing
And
our
it's kind of,
website.
it's very capable, so now we have that where people can sign up and get notified of meetings and things like that. So we've added functionality to that as well.
Council, anything else for Tina? Did you have anything else to add?
No, don't think so.
Keep up the good work.
Thank
Great
you.
job.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job, Stina.
Next, we're going to ask the library to present. We have our director, Nicole Henline.
I was looking for my library button, I couldn't find it. I know it's in one of my suitcases.
Sorry, Jared, I moved it,
Kaboom.
What an entrance.
everything. I know, I'm
The whole
sorry.
desk.
I moved the whole thing. Sorry about that. Those are for your perusal at your own convenience. It's just a newsletter that lets you know what the library has been up to so far in 2022 and gives you a return on investment on the back. So, but I'm going to talk, mostly about the budget. As I'm sure you know, because we talk about it a lot, we're very proud of what we do at the library.
What page?
And what we do for our community and your constituents. And we want to thank you for your support of the library and everything you do for the community. A quick note on our budget, it has two parts. The municipal part is on page 93. And the non-municipal part, which is our nonprofit, the Monroeville Public Library Fund. We're mostly tonight talking about page 93, the municipal budget, but it is important to know where the non-municipal money comes from. It comes from all over, but from state, county, fundraising, grant writing, all of the income, anything that comes into the library directly. That money allows us to do a lot more without having to ask for more from the municipality. So it allows us to do our programming, buy our materials, do continuing education. It allows us to go above and beyond without having to ask for more. The county money and state money are based on several factors. 3 factors: people in the door, items out the door, including virtual, and municipal contributions. Basically, the more money you give us, the more money goes into the formula. Unfortunately, I have bad news. We are going to see a significant decrease in RAD funding, Regional Asset District, that's the county money, for this funding year, at least $40,000. And there are 2 reasons for that. One is that for 2023, the RAD board requested that the Allegheny County Library Association submit a formula with a specific focus on distressed communities. This means less funding for our library from that pot of money. The second reason that it went down was because of the municipal budget cuts that started to occur during the pandemic. The bottom line, when the municipality gives us more money, we get more money out of the formula. When they give us a little bit less money, we get less money from the formula. So those 2 factors together are what we're seeing to receive that cut this year.
Nicole, where is that reflected in the budget, in the revenues?
It is,
Looks like contract services,
It's,
up 93,000.
yeah, that's on there, but the, it's in the revenues. I apologize, I don't have the revenue pages in front of me.
49?
But you said that would be, I'm sorry, would that be, that's not no, it would not be ACLA. 990, so library regional assets?
Yes.
right.
So you should see it going down from 267 thousand something to 20, it's going down 40,000. That might not be the right number. They went through several formula iterations.
Okay.
And the final one they landed on has us down $40,000. But, our library is seeing the fourth largest reduction in funding among the 65 county libraries. We need to work on making sure that we secure future RAD funding. So we need your help in assuring that municipal support, because any increase in municipal funding is positive for the library in regards to that county funding formula. So for 2023, in our municipal budget on page 93, to continue providing the services your constituents are looking for, I looked at what made the most sense to move in order to offset the cuts we were looking at, and the inflation that everyone's dealing with. The first is $33,000 added to contract services. As Mr. Adams mentioned, contract services is going up. It's the very last line at the bottom. And there are two items in there.
It's up 93,000.
It's up, yeah.
It should be 86.
It was budgeted at 60,000 last year, and then
Yeah, I
for this
have
year,
one
it's
here.
153.
I have on your worksheet the same thing you're talking about, Nicole. I don't know why the 153. Josie, you shed any light on that, why 153 is in there?
No, I can't.
So, I'm sorry, Nicole, what do you feel it should be?
80, it should be 60 plus 86,
146.
146.
Plus 86?
It's 146.
Yeah, that's
Isn't it?
146.
Right.
yeah.
I majored in math, I better
Thank
know.
you. I could
We
probably
have you here for a reason.
probably
Yeah,
do that faster if I
finally.
weren't thinking about it so hard. So I apologize. So instead of 153, it should be 146. I apologize. I'm not sure where I switched my
It should
numbers
be
there.
It should be 146, you're saying?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, because that's gone up from when we had our budget meeting.
Right, and it should not have.
Yeah, because I have our 100,000 on the, but anyways, go ahead.
So there are two items that make that number go up. One is to cover computer leases, and those include all the computers in the building, staff and public. And the second is for electronic items, books, magazines, music, audio, that community members can access from anywhere. Those resources, and it's only a small portion of what we offer, but we pay into a pot that the whole county uses to purchase those resources. So that would be our portion of that, which is $53,000. And so these resources are a continuously growing need in our technology-driven world. Some people use them constantly. Some people, it's how they get through the winter. We go to the senior homes. We're back at that. We want to get to more as we can get there, but we go and teach them how to use those gadgets so they can download their books in between bookmobile visits, things like that. So those are the two items that we are asking for the municipality to cover, that we're moving from the non-municipal budget.
So is that all part of, what was Overdrive or Libby?
Yes.
These type of, so that money
We
you're
don't
talking,
get to pick where it goes. So
like, are you paying for Overdrive and Libby or whatever they call, whatever the iteration of that is? Or are you just paying for the licenses and then you're offered those programs?
we don't get to pick where it goes because it's very complicated because there are 46 libraries. So
You're sharing it with all the
we're sharing it, yes.
Okay.
The Carnegie Library of Pittsburgh pretty much puts in several $1 million. And then the county takes, we look at usage, and there's a formula for everything. And we divide from usage what we think we should be spending, and then we divide it by libraries, depending on your library's usage, or your library's expenditures on materials. So that would be our portion.
Okay. But it's a good deal for the residents because residents have access to all these things.
Correct. They have, yes.
And
We
then-
pay that
No matter who, no
53.
matter, yeah, exactly.
We pay that 53, but they have access to
All-
$2 million worth of resources.
Materials.
And then that'll also, then those go into our count. So it's our piece that goes into it, so it goes into our count?
Yes.
Okay, so if we're.
So when they borrow them, it goes into that formula that helps us get more RAD money. It all makes it into the good.
Okay.
So any questions about those two things? So we are asking for those two. Our last request, our third request, is a move towards salary corrections. As I'm sure other departments and employers have experienced, I know you've seen it, we've seen red flags recently. In 2018, since 2018, we've lost at least 5 high-quality, full-time professional staff members due to low wages and residency requirements.
How many full-time people do you have? at the library?
Right now, 15.
15 full-time?
They moved on to better-paying jobs in the profession. We have had, since I started, at least a dozen individuals turn down jobs because the pay was too low. There are many more who don't even interview once they realize that the residency requirement and the salary are not negotiable. We lost another 5 part-timers back in 2021 when they were invited back in the spring, and it was just not worth it. The wage was not worth it for them to come back and pay childcare and things like that.
But there are no part-timers now, right?
No.
Everybody got converted to full-time?
Full-time.
So 15 full-time, no part-time? Okay.
Under salaries, in this proposed budget, you've been increased by $40,000.
This is a 3% increase that was put in by finance.
I instructed Josie to do that, okay, just to put 3% in for budgetary purposes.
And so.
Just for the library or for all departments?
Well, all the the departments have I don't know if it's 3%. I mean, Josie, is it 3%?
3%.
Okay, we put in for budgetary purposes.
Just, okay.
It doesn't
Yeah.
necessarily, I don't want to be presumptuous, that's up to council
But-
on the administrative staff, but I just did that for budgetary purposes, so the budgets, the expense side of it is, as spot on as possible.
But, in the last red flag, there was a recent municipal posting for a driver and maintenance person who was gonna make $33 an hour starting. After 8 years, I'm the only person in the building who makes more than that by less than $2. No one, including myself, is saying that person shouldn't make that. They certainly should. But everyone has that right to make enough money to support themselves and their families in the communities where they live. Because of these red flags, Eric asked us to complete a salary study. With the help of Deb Thompson, a professional consultant who has her own company and works with the Allegheny County Library Association, and who also often works with ALOM, the Allegheny League of Municipalities, we completed this study. One of the things we looked at was the cost of living in Monroeville. With our current salary ranges, as you can see on the page that Debbie passed out, and you will receive in just a second, I promise, only 3 people on staff can afford to live and sustain a family in Monroeville. What we're requesting are not merit raises. These are salary corrections that are necessary to move our employees to meet middle ranges for their positions in the local market, not top, middle. It's getting them to a place where they can afford to live in the community where they serve and where they're required to live. You all understand, it's cheaper to pay people to keep them than to continuously rehire, only to train them to go somewhere else and to move on. We have an amazing staff. They are what make the library special and help make Monroeville an attractive place to be, to live. We want to keep them and continue to serve your constituents and our neighbors to the best of our ability. If we invest in staff, they will invest themselves, their lives, their families in the future of this community. We don't want them to have to choose between a career they're passionate about and one that serves the community well and putting food on the table for their family. The salary study indicated a 24% increase to get everyone in the library to the median middle range for their position. We certainly understand that that is not a request that is workable within a single budget year. We are instead requesting that over 3 years. This year, we are requesting an 8% increase. In the budget book on page 93, there's already a 3% increase. To increase to what we are asking for, it would be another $33,700 added to what is there. So $33,700 added to what is there. This being said, as you know, if inflation continues at its current rate, the increases may simply keep our heads above water, but at least it won't dig the hole any deeper. And the key to the success of our library, just like the key to success of all of our departments, and our ability to provide the community members with what they want, is our staff. And we need to support them as such, and in order to do that, we need your help to make it happen. So thank you so much for listening.
Just a quick information for you and everybody else here. The council has discussed salaries and is continuing to discuss salaries, and we're aware that it's not in a good place.
Yes, and we absolutely understand it is not a one-stop fix, and we want to be part of the long-term solution, however we can help be part of that research and solution.
Thank you.
So thank you for that.
Yeah, Nicole, I'm looking at page 12 in our budget book, and it tells me that for every dollar invested in the library, at least $4.38 in services was returned to the community, which is pretty good.
Yes, I'm very excited. I think it went up what's on the back
You want to make the sheet?
of that newsletter I gave you?
Sheet?
No, the newsletter,
Oh,
the big one,
I hit
that one.
Back, yeah.
What's the number in there,
38.
Sharon? Sorry.
Library value, 6,000.
6 million.
438.
6 million.
Six million.
Okay, so it's 438 this
438.
year. Perfect, yep.
Yeah.
We're very excited about that
That's pretty
because,
remarkable.
thank you,
Says it's up to 29% from 2020.
yeah. So we're excited. It was before the pandemic, it was higher. We're looking to get back up there. And the national average is $5, so we're looking to get above that. And we will eventually, but we're trying to do the best we can with your money to make sure it reaches as many people as possible and provides as many resources as possible.
Well, in one context too, perhaps we may have contributed to the disparity during the layoff period of time because we had the decrease of our contribution, which counted against us in the formula. So during the pandemic, when it wasn't working, it slowed down the rest of this and probably, to be quite honest with you, again, to Nicole's point earlier, I asked, I said, well, you know, what's the medium? How do we find it? And this service is terrific. They're also an ALOM-approved group as well, Tim, so to look at them, because I know it may be something we need to do.
Strategic Solutions
Yeah.
is the company name.
And I was quite surprised at the outcome. I didn't even remotely
We weren't
imagine.
expecting quite that number. We were expecting a number.
Well, half, I mean, it says half of the staff on this green sheet, really, is on here, is below the wages we have of folks that they've had to hire for, you know, retail facilities like, you know, Sheets and, you know, service areas as well. You know, their folks are coming at $18 and $19 an hour in some of those cases, and we've got half the staff doing less than that.
So we just very much want to do our best possible job for you, so I really want to advocate for my staff. They're very passionate, and I want them to be able to, like I said, provide for their families and make a life here in Monroeville. And I don't want to keep losing people to other libraries. They're very happy if they come trained from Monroeville because we have a great reputation for customer service and programming. And so they're pretty happy if they can get their hands on someone from us. So we don't want that to happen. We know it's a long-term solution in a lot of ways, and we understand that, but we hope that there's something we can do in the short term, at least something.
Nicole,
When I met with you, one of the things that I learned is the more we use the library, people coming through them doors, the more of the funds come in for the library.
Yes.
So for the public, use the library. Come in and read books, look around, whatever you do, because the more count we have, the better it is for the library.
Yes, it moves us up, and that's what, when Eric was saying, it's kind of a snowball effect. For a while, when we lost staffing, we couldn't do as many programs because of the pandemic. We weren't doing as much circulation, so it was a snowball effect of losing pieces in multiple factors.
Nicole, you want to explain a little bit what RAD's reasoning for reducing the allocation to the library? Because, just for the benefit of the council and the public, Mount Lebanon lost 53,000.
Yes. Oh, no, they're up to 56, I think.
56, and you correct me, because this is when you and I met.
Yeah.
Bethel Park only lost 23,000.
And they're up to some, everything went up a little bit for most of the people who were losing.
Northland, 54,000, and Upper St. Clair, 45,000, because I received a lot of emails on a network we have among us municipal managers, and a lot of managers were back in the summertime. But when you and I talked, what was the reasoning for the,
They want to support smaller, underfunded libraries, which is totally understandable. The one person literally, I feel I can say this on camera because I think he said it on camera, literally said, he's stealing from the rich and giving to the poor. What he's doing is stealing from the working class and giving to the poor. The rich is still being left whole. There's a bigger issue of.
I'll say it, Nicole.
Oh,
It's
please.
okay, that's fine. You're talking about the Carnegie system, has not changed and has been included to do that. Yeah, I can get away with it.
Yeah, I'm going to be on the board next year. I have to be a little bit careful.
Sorry, I just caught up to where you were from that. But the RAD funding for this, for the ACLA, comes from the 1%, let's go back to basics, comes from the 1% extra sales tax, to which it goes into RAD funding. The last time we got a report, which was pre-COVID, unless guys have gotten one earlier, the last time that we saw it, usually there was a council police report on, a rough brochure to do that. It was around $171,000 to $172,000 was in that, and that was pre-Allegheny County having a surplus from the state post, federal funding. So to do that, and out of that is about $26 million just goes to the library. The other 100 and some odd million is left into debt services. So 28 million is the library.
26 goes to Carnegie.
26 goes to Carnegie, 6 or 7, goes to the rest of the Allegheny County libraries, of which there's 46.
But also museums and there's.
Well,
other-
yeah, the rest of the remainder,
That
but this is just the
26
lab,
goes
just library.
No, but it's RAD in general, the 1%.
Oh, yes, RAD in general goes to many, many
Exactly, yeah.
organizations.
Debt
But
service,
those two pots of
Brewer
money go
Stadium.
to libraries.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah,
those
right,
two.
too. So that piece, so that's a huge portion that goes to the operation of that. And they also are the predominant library services for the Pittsburgh Public Schools to do that. Now, the services we provide to the school district is more or less we get credit. It's a benefit to us to do because we get credit for it in terms of services that comes back to us from RAD. But we don't receive any, share funding from school district for some of the programs that we do as a result of, being in the Office of Education. I mean, these are things that the
Right.
school districts
We're
are.
part of the Department of Education.
Yeah, so they ask and kind of get that from that. The city apparently had passed something, I've never found it in their budget, to do that, to fund it. So predominantly, when you look at what it costs total for ours, and then you do the math for the Carnegies, it's about the same per library. It's close to $1 million whatever, and change per of the 18 Carnegie libraries, to do that. So it explains that part of it, but it doesn't help us. And now, okay, they're not touching that, but they're touching the $6 million,
That goes between 45 libraries.
yeah, to do that. And it's cut down. And this is a recent, and Tim, to your question too, on that cut too. If I'm not mistaken, the other day from the message I received from Dave, who goes to that board, this is a recent, like in the last week or so, a piece of that, Tim. That's why those numbers are even worse. This is when the last week they got, Dave English goes, Dave usually represents, and Debbie Year's backup or something for the county portion of that board too, so.
Our previous board president, Monroeville's previous board president, was voted onto the county library board. And so He just joined this year, and he is very much part of the conversations on how to fix this on a bigger level. This year, we kind of have to deal with it. They pretty much told us if we didn't pass this formula that would hurt 13 of us, they wouldn't give us any money. And it's not the fault of, you know, the libraries that really need it, because they do. It's just the way it was gone about was a little shifty.
And I mean, and the other piece of this is, as you guys know, we can share with when you go in, we can share anything in any county library. Anybody that needs
Yes.
that, the resources, the electronic resources, all that is shared in that same pot. Technically, you're actually a different IT system that we have in Monroeville,
Yes.
so that can happen. And we get credit to, do that. So we're putting money into the pot, and we've gotten hurt a little bit, to do it. Now, this will help. And I'm curious, it won't happen right away until the capital budget's in, if we'll ever get credit for anything, improvements on that we would do towards the library services as we move forward in the capital improvements.
All of the work that the municipality does on the building, Public Works, the snow
Well, the new
removal,
floor,
the
well, the floors
grass
have been done,
cutting,
the lights,
the extra stuff, that goes on something called a green sheet. And so the municipality gets credit, like in-kind credit. So that helps tremendously, because that counts towards the formula. Yeah, so
So
that.
as we improve, to our point, we said earlier, we talked about, we did HVACs already because we had to jump in to get that done. That won't show for us this year, but it'll go onto that green sheet into the future slightly.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
But so, it's not helping short term.
So Nicole, so revenues.
Yes.
If we go back to that for a second. So you said, and just not to belabor this, but, so from the county level, from what we talked about, we're down 40,000
Yes.
roughly. But on the revenues, we're seeing an increase of 62,000, which includes that 40,000. So,
We're doing more fundraising, more grant writing, and we're getting a little bit more from the state for the first time.
so the state's kind of,
They're not making up for it. It's about a $15,000 increase, maybe $17,000
Okay.
increase.
17.
I apologize.
From the state surplus to do that too.
Yeah, this was the second time in 12 years that there was an increase to the library subsidy. Only the second time in 12 years. And it was cut severely before that. So it was cut by $70 million before it was raised by 15. So it's great, but we're not back to where we were previous to the cut. But yes, we've been working to do some of our programs. We are very, very close, fingers crossed, to covering our entire teen after-school program through grants. We are trying to do more fundraising, so that's why we were able to raise that bottom line number without that RAD money.
okay.
What's the gaming revenue? There was a huge number in 2021. I don't, why'd that go down so much in '22?
Which number is it?
Gaming revenue.
Oh, gaming revenue. That, hold on, I'm sorry, can I see? I apologize.
Anybody else see that?
I printed the wrong.
49. You see that?
I'm,
On
2019 actual.
Page 49 of the revenue.
Or, I'm sorry, 2021. I'm sorry, 2021 actual.
2020, yeah, there is a big drop.
Hey, John Dennis.
49 on revenue.
Page 40.
On revenue, on revenue.
On revenue.
For the RAD for the Allegheny County Library.
okay.
A misprint?
Well, it,
Oh, yeah. That's a misprint.
Okay, all right.
That looks like, okay, see where it says state grant?
Okay,
The state grant, we get it every year. So it looks
Okay.
like the gaming revenue money
okay.
should be where the state grant is.
All right.
But then in 2020, Oh, it's where we don't get there's no such thing as an ACLA grant. Okay, so it's just in the wrong line.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the 254,000 for the ACLA grant from last year, that doesn't exist for this year,
Okay.
right? Is that what you're saying?
Okay, so where it says library
see.
regional assets, that is correct.
The
I
two
see.
230,000.
The 254.
Oh, I'm looking at the 2023 budget.
2023 budget, 230 we will get.
Okay.
The 260, okay, so this says 250, oh, wait, I'm sorry. Okay, this says 254,503
For that's the actual.
next to ACLA. It should be up next to library regional assets. I apologize.
Okay.
I'll make sure this gets fixed. These are just, I
Oh,
just put
okay,
them in the
so,
wrong
okay.
lines.
Yeah, all right.
254 should be in the.
2 lines up.
Two lines up.
Two lines up.
That makes sense.
And it actually turned out to be, because this was printed before RAD published finished their budget, it actually went up to 267. So we're going down from 267 to 227, I think it is.
230.
Yeah. Well, it's actually going below 230. 230 is what we put in when we thought
Okay.
we were getting 230.
Close.
That was a couple weeks ago. So I apologize. Those numbers are just in the wrong place, and I will make sure that
that makes
gets
sense.
fixed.
Yeah, get that to me, and then we'll put it on council's website.
Okay.
All right.
The bottom line, we're losing money.
Bottom line is we're losing money, yes,
Well, losing money from
from
the
RAD.
sources, from RAD.
Sources, yeah.
But we
we're
have
up-
been
we're up
trying to make
we're
up
up
for it
62,000.
in other ways.
in revenue. Okay.
Yes.
I mean, the challenge, and these folks over here are tired of hearing me saying it, sometimes is, thanks, Nicole.
Thank you.
Is, I always look at a certain number of types of services that we have to have and have to do, whether it's by code or law. For example, we have to make sure there's a police department, fire department, we have to make sure that EMS shows up, we have to plow the roads, we have to get, to do that, we have to fix them. There's some things, in the public works side that are absolutely essential to do that. So I was trying to come up with a way to say, well, okay, guys, this may be a little bit tougher to do that. And actually, Tim, you had said something to me about it, said, well, but it's a piece where it's the people decide on the quality of, life and what else you add to it. And I don't know, the Fun Fest this year, festival, we've never seen anything to that potential, to do that. And I was trying to put some kind of metric that says how much does the community use something that's in place. So my public works metric, I asked Paul, I said, what do we have roughly homes? 10,000. So there's 52,000 contacts, a year, 520,000 contacts a year, 520,000, because once a week, Public Works touches everybody's residence and home, pick up the garbage. I mean, it's the most used service probably that we have, okay? I think that's pretty rough. But the library's close? What's the library? We talked about, but the door count and the things and the formula and all these subscription.
Over 400.
So we have a number of over 400,000 in terms of uses, like Bob said, coming in the door, the electronics services and stuff as well.
Programs, outreach.
Programs. So actually,
circulation.
it is something that kind of the citizens use, but we don't hear it the same way as if, hey, somebody forgot to pick my garbage up this week. We hear about those problems, as they go on and occur. But
Well, it's just like when the Westmoreland Heritage Trail opened up in Monroeville, and it's the library. It's I don't want to say this, it's innate things that add to the quality of life of any community, and it also adds to real estate property values. Things like that, recreation, the community park we have, the Westmoreland Heritage Trail, the library, all these intangibles is the word I was reaching for before. The intangibles, those things add to the quality of life in a community.
Right, that's better, yeah, thanks, Tim, that was better what you said to that, too. So it's probably the second most touched or interacted service that we provide. I mean, there's, 40,000 police responses, from an EMS and fire side, close to 10,000. When you
Ours are very
come to the-
likely less stressful than theirs.
Yeah, a little bit less stressful, to do all those,
Let's hope so.
the essentials.
Definitely.
To do that, how much interaction that we have, per day across all those services, to do that too. So, I mean, that was just, I was trying to frame it in some type of metric, but.
Very good. Council, any other questions for Nicole at this time?
I'm just wondering.
Mr. Williams.
Electricity, with all the LED lighting and it's still going up.
Yes.
Reason for that.
going up in every
It's going
department,
up
Bob.
a lot.
Every
We
department.
have
At
your house.
We have two things on the docket that hopefully will make a huge difference next year, I'm hoping. We have the LED lights that the Friends are fundraising for that are already being purchased because they gave the matching money. Now they're raising the money to get them installed. So hopefully that shouldn't take too long. And then the municipality has already ordered the HVAC and boiler pieces. I apologize, I don't know the right words for what they are, to replace those, and they will definitely be more energy efficient. So hopefully that will help tremendously between those things.
And Tim, on electricity as a side note, I could be wrong, because I know we had this discussion about streetlights and those. We get just a flat number, and we only get credit for improving energy efficiency, at least in streetlights, whenever Duquesne Light so grants us that privilege at a certain rate that we have. So when we change them, we don't always get the credit we need. But don't we just get a flat, it's not really usage like you get at home. Don't we get the same thing across all of Monroeville?
Yeah, yes and no. I mean, I
Right.
don't
It's not,
think
it's
all
not
of
as
them.
simple as our home.
Yeah, I don't think all of them are flat. Some meters are. I think the streetlights are. Am I correct
Flat.
on that, Josie?
That,
The streetlights I know are. 'cause
When we
were in
get
that
our
meeting.
bills in, Darlene would really be the one to
she
know
would,
that.
yeah.
When we get our bills in, some of them are metered and some of them aren't. I don't think the streetlights are metered. I think it's a flat fee like Eric's
I
saying.
think you're right.
I was
sure
in
they
that
are.
meeting. We
But
had
I-
that meeting with Duquesne Light
I
and
can't
LED.
really
Although
say
in that, we used to pay about $300,000 a year for all the streetlights, and now that figure has come down about $50,000 because of the LEDs, we've put in. So that, and also we did this with the municipal building. And Mike Strom did a good job on that, getting that. So, yeah, putting in LEDs, there's a little bit of a cost initially, but it pays itself off in 2, 3, 4 years.
Oh, you have given me a printout, we talked about this before, and a 250 watt light, that's 43 watts LED, and that went from 1751 to 575 a month, if I'm reading that right?
1/3?
They're all, it's what everybody knows. I go through the budget every month, gas and oil, electricity. And telecommunications has always been kind of out of whack, and those utilities and telecommunications things have, we've had to increase into the budget this year. You go across the board, they're all that way. No surprise.
Well, she's already at 83,000 as of September. It's like 23,000 over budget.
I know.
Yeah.
I have the bills pulled, because I'm not sure why.
Yeah, you mentioned that,
It's that high.
Yeah, last year,
Doesn't make
it
sense
was
to be
at
that much of a
67.
jump,
Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
it
that's
doesn't.
even with the
Well,
increased prices.
I have that
Yeah,
invoice on my desk.
I
to
have
ask
them
about.
pulled to look at them and see if there's a mistake, because those are the 2 months that we had outages. I don't know if something weird happened. We were gonna look at them next
And
week.
decreased hours, from previous years.
Yes.
So, I mean, you don't have anything
Like,
new
we're not
running
running
all
more
the time.
things, right,
Right,
Yeah,
the
that's
same weather that we've had.
right. So we're
Well,
not
Tim, you
quite
mentioned
sure.
about
The school district stealing from them.
the supplier.
Could be.
You got a new supplier
We got a new supplier.
at a better rate,
Yeah.
I hope?
No, at a higher rate. I really dig for those higher rates. No, it was a low, and again, Mike did that, he's the one, kind of, it morphed over to him, going back 5, 6 months ago. And he and I sat down, and he did all the legwork for it, and Mike Strom, that is.
And that's to supply all of our buildings?
that-
Here, library, public works, Senior Center?
Yeah, that, everything that we had with Constellation, that is everybody, I believe. That we switched over, I think the company's called IGS. I mean, you get so many generators, because Duquesne Light is, or First Energy is, or no, I should say the other way around, the suppliers. And, because you get so many the different suppliers, I mean, you know, so we have, I think it's IGS, I think, don't quote
Are we locked in for,
yeah, we locked in for I think a 2-3 year period. I forget what it is. And then we also locked in, you know, speaking on that, the gas supplier, because prices were going up, this was just about 2 weeks ago, we had to lock this in for a 3-year agreement. Prices were going up daily. The rep called me, we actually called Joe, and we had to lock it in. He said, if you don't lock it in now, it's going up again tomorrow. And so we locked it in. It's higher, but we locked it in because it's continually going up. It was going up daily.
that just seems like 83,000 already
Yeah.
as of September, seems an awful lot. Especially if it's only 60,000 budgeted, and next year's 65,000.
Yeah, your electric bill was $11,000 the last 2 months.
I know.
And it was.
Each
it
month?
was- The last two, the last two bills.
22.
And then before that, it was only 6,000 or 7,000, which
I
is,
know.
it has been, you know, like that each month.
That's why we pulled them, because we don't get them, they come here, so I pulled them off of the,
Yeah, and I don't know why it was, Mike's the one that brought it, Mike's the one that.
yeah, so I pulled them off of the, off of AccuFund to, look at them and make phone calls and figure out if there's something wrong on the actual bill, because it didn't look right.
Agreed. Council, anything else for the library this evening? Great job, Nicole.
Thank
Good
you.
job.
Thank you,
Have a
thank
great
you, board.
evening.
Thank you for coming.
Sharon, are you okay?
Oh, sorry, can Mary,
Okay.
can Mary Frances have 2 seconds to tell you about cupcakes?
Oh, my
2 seconds. This is a budget hearing, so we're stretching it a little bit here, but go
Hey,
ahead.
everybody needs a little bit of a break.
I need a
This
cupcake.
is an opportunity to support the library through a fundraiser and
you're putting the
also the
arm on
Monroeville
us.
Area Chamber of Commerce. We have a new store opening up down the road, something with bundt cakes. What's the name of the store? Nothing bundt cakes.
Yes, they've been
Anyway,
donating
they're
to a
having
lot of things already.
the grand opening.
Yeah.
They've been supporters of the library. They were one of the booths at the Fun Fest. Anyway, on their grand opening day, they're returning 20% of their gross to the library.
And what date is that grand opening?
On 12th of November.
Very
all
good,
right,
thank you.
Thank you. We're also doing a community night. I'll put it in a day. Thank you.
Thank you, folks.
Let them eat cake, thank you. Yeah.
All right, we're gonna move on to our finance department, council. Josie, you wanna stay there, or do you wanna? May I ask a question for Jared? Jared, can Josie stay where she's at?
Yeah, she's fine there.
Okay.
Joe's, what page?
It's 20, first we're going to do revenue, which is page 30 on the revenue. Okay, we're good, right? You really don't have to go to what's in your book, because what you have here in front of you, if you have my handout, is essentially what's in your book. And I just wanted to note a few things, that all the revenue that's allocated to finance is essentially items that are shared revenues that we receive from the state. We also receive the regional asset, a share of the regional asset tax. And this year, our budget, I expect it to be about $1 million. Could be wrong about that, though, but I based it on what we had this year, which was almost $1 million. Other items that are relevant there is the general municipal pension state aid, which helps offset our pension costs. And that's probably all I have for that. I do think I budgeted 1.2 million for real estate transfer tax. That may be low, but it's kind of hard to gauge because the property values have gone up. But I'm seeing that maybe houses aren't moving the way they were at one time. So, maybe we'll just sit with that 1.2 million.
Because every other year, you're up a little bit.
Yeah. So that's all I have for the revenues. Anybody have questions on that? No? Good, okay.
Questions are good.
Next.
No, I got about 16 over here.
There we go.
I'll bet you do.
We'll take a break then.
Now, what I've done on page 2 of your handout,
Page
if you want to see it in the book, the expenditures are on page 21. I split salary and benefits and what I'm calling controllable costs. Essentially, what you've heard from everyone else here tonight is the salary and benefits are basically governed by, for a large part, union negotiations and the health insurance. That's nothing that it's dictated by what the providers are going to give us. One thing I will note, we have RHS payments. That's retiree health benefits. Right now, we give a certain allotment to employees that goes into a medical health care fund account for them. And you'll see that there wasn't anything budgeted for it last year. That's because I broke it out so that it used to be in with health insurance, so I gave it its separate line because, it's a separate thing, so it's good to know what that is. Overall, that, in my department anyway, that I had a decrease of 2% overall. And that's basically because we're going to be getting another new employee in finance. So we have Darlene, as everybody knows, is retiring. So to replace her, with somebody with less experience. Then below on the controllable costs, I apologize. I decreased my controllable costs. It says it says decrease, but it actually was an increase. So if you look at 22, I went from 116 to 153. That was just clerical. I didn't adjust for that. One change I wanted to make on those costs, I tried to keep them all relatively consistent with basically last year's. And if I didn't have a good last year's, I'd look at a trend and make a judgment on that. The postage, though, I believe I originally under budgeted that by about $4,000. And basically what that is, that's our postage costs and any shipping costs, anything like that. And essentially it gets charged to finance, and then we allocate money by the heavier used departments, the departments that do a lot more mailing. For example, a tax office, they get an allocation of that. The other thing is item, it would be seminar expense. I left that, I budgeted that at 2.5. I'm thinking that should probably be increased because in the past, there was a lot of conferences that are held via Zoom or whatever, online. But they're starting to open up and now that COVID's over, and they're gonna have their conferences live. And that's about it.
Josie, I have a question here on the contracted services. I know we have Paymerang now, which is that on the revenue side? Because I'm looking at this, kind of a two-part question here, from 50 to 75. And Paymerang is I'm not saying it's all of it, but it's part of it, but that's being made up on the revenue side. Not all of it, but part of it.
No, we're not, we haven't received any costs for Paymerang. If anybody doesn't recall, Paymerang is where we've outsourced our essentially check writing to a company that's what they do, and they try and get the vendors to use ACH or a credit card. ACH is a much more secure way of making a payment than a check. And in doing that, we get a rebate
Right. Yeah.
from the Paymerang for using the ACH and the credit card. One thing I did notice that we're saving on expenditures, our bank fees, when we were writing all our own checks last year, we're averaging about $900 a month. We pretty much don't have any more.
That was all into the calculation when we were talking to Paymerang.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was Huntington Bank is no longer charging us a bank fee because we're not processing checks through them. Paymerang does all the,
And just for council's benefit, and the public for that matter, you're talking about ACH being more secure
correct,
with the check we just had yesterday, or the other day,
yep,
that was a fraudulent check,
we did.
and they picked up on it. And actually, it was coming out of the MS4, but that was Huntington that picked up on that.
It was.
So there's a lot of, we've picked up on, we had a slew of that in the beginning of this year, I think. And then that's the first one we've had in a while, I think.
Well, it's because we've implemented positive check pay.
Right.
Which means, what that means, we do an upload when we cut checks. We upload that to the bank, and the bank compares our upload to what checks are coming through. And if there's one that doesn't match, they won't pay it. Well, we get a notice and we have to look at it and determine.
Is that Huntington or is that Paymerang?
Huntington.
That was Huntington that caught that, because
Yeah.
MS4 is not, the checks on MS4 aren't coming out of.
The good news
Paymerang at
is
this
now,
point.
the rest of our check writing accounts, I've implemented
Okay.
positive check pay.
All right, that's right. Okay.
And that just came through tonight
All right.
before I came down, so we're a little more secure, but the ACH is way more secure than
Yeah.
checks. So,
And when we pay that way to the vendors or whoever we're paying, do they have to process it like a credit card? Or not necessarily?
no, not necessarily. The way this Paymerang works, we give them an upload of what we want paid and the vendors and so forth. And at the same time, they cut that out of their account, not ours. And I do an ACH transfer from our bank to cover that total.
Okay.
So that there's, that fraud step then is kind of removed from us because we're just doing the ACH. It's like Tim said, on that MS4 that, that was flagged, and it was clearly fraudulent. And so we, don't have that. Also, down the road, we're going to move MS4 checks to pay meringue. So,
Understood.
way of the world.
Right.
Well, you were saying your bank fees decreased,
Yeah,
but it's reflecting 14% higher
Right.
this year.
right, because what's included in there is credit card fees, other, it's not all necessarily bank fees. We pay fees to, yeah, that's a credit card fee too. I might have budgeted that a little high, because the trend, well, we did have a lot there in 2021, but, yeah, they did come down, so, I mean, if, I can cut that if you prefer, or,
Yeah, but look at 19.
yeah. Yeah.
It's up and down.
Yeah, it's, the other thing that, well, that's, we covered that, sorry. I also have a couple pictures for you, so that wouldn't be as boring.
Little pie cuts.
So-
Make us hungry.
We're visual guys.
And the first is a pie chart of just the finance revenues. Again, that's the money that we get from county or the
Okay,
state.
keep in mind, Council, this isn't real estate tax, it's not earned income
right.
tax. This is more fees and things of that nature.
It's just finance, that's why I
Yeah.
put that in there.
The stuff Pat doesn't take care of.
Right. But the two bigger ones, amounts of, well, the three bigger is our real estate transfer, pension state aid, and then the regional asset. Then the next picture is salary and benefits. Kind of can see that salaries are the largest portion, and everything else kind of falls in line. And then our last picture is the controllable finance cost. On that contract services, Tim, you had asked about that, I thought. That is not only our software finance, our finance software, it also includes mailing equipment and some copier fee, charges. So that's what's in that. Does anybody have any questions? No?
Council?
Again, good.
Great. Great job, Josie.
Thank you.
Thanks, Josie.
Short break.
No.
Folks, we're going to take just a 5-minute break, and then we will get started back up with the fire chiefs that are patiently waiting here this evening. So we're taking a 5-minute recess. This meeting is out of recess. This is our 2023 budget hearing, our first of two. It is October 27th. It's approximately 8:07 p.m. We are starting back up with our fire chiefs. Gentlemen, thanks for coming out this evening. If you don't mind, maybe introducing yourselves for the community and which fire company you represent.
Will do. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Manager, Council. We're the Monroeville Fire Chiefs. I'm Jason Sonnenfeld, Chief of Monroeville number 1.
I'm Corey, Chief of number 6.
Logan Stadler, Chief of Station 4.
Todd Kane, Chief of number 3, Mellon Plant.
Ben Rudd, Chief of number 5.
Great. Thanks, gentlemen. So, Jason, did you want us to get started?
Yeah, we're going to go over page 41 in your budget expenditure, fire suppression. I handed out a spreadsheet to everybody that was color-coded, talks about our 2022 budget, the 2023 proposed, which is on page 41, and then the proposed increase, which to the right of that column, which was either generated through the AccuFund program or the budget program or what we were asking for. And there are some notes on the bottom, so we'll just go through top to bottom, and then we'll go over to the EMS section.
I got a question right out of the gate.
Yes, sir.
Who calculated double for gas and lubricants?
That was
How did that number come to
generated
be?
per the program. That was auto-generated.
That was you.
That-
Or
yeah,
through
that-
Josie.
Because it's redundant in every budget.
That's
Yeah.
exactly,
Yeah.
that was what we,
And I was just curious, do we have, it appears we have numbers from fire that their overage was $7,000. Do we have that for every department? How do we know
no,
if they
what-
used what they had?
well, what we did is, when this was prepared, that was when gas was double. The price of gas was double, and, you know, I suggested we double all of it because we don't know where gas is going. It's not going down that quickly.
Well, it's gone down from $5.
Well, it has gone down from $5. But that was just our best guess at the time, and when we calculated a few of them, we didn't calculate everyone, that seemed to be a pretty fair estimate, but, you know, again, nobody really knows what gas is gonna do.
Right.
So,
And I didn't
That-
mean to beat you guys up,
Oh, no, that's completely
No,
fine.
that-
because it was every budget.
Yeah.
no, that came from finance.
Okay, thank you very much.
So that was the first one, the gasoline, so 231, and as you can see on the note on the bottom, it was auto-generated for us. We'll go down to number 250, which is the motor vehicle parts. That also was auto-generated in the budget. Obviously, the cost of the parts for all the apparatus we have, engines, ladder trucks, rescues, all that has gone up as well. 251 was the tires. We asked for that increase going up to cover the cost of all the tires. Obviously, those things went up as well. 310 is our hose testing. There's also a note on there for Josie. I don't know if you want to combine them or not, but the hose testing and the contract services, they're both the same because it's a contracted service. We pay somebody to come in and do that.
We could certainly
So we
put
can
that.
combine those.
Yes, yes, you
And then,
can.
So the hose testing is just for the hose on all the fire engines, trucks, everything that carries the hose. That's all the testing for that. And then the other contracted services are the pump testing, aerial testing, all the NFPA testing that are required on all the vehicles. Down to telecommunication, you guys were talking about that all evening with the increase in that. One of the reasons we're asking for an increase in that is the cradle point devices that were installed in all of the fire and EMS vehicles. We broke them down to the fire side and EMS side. That cost was passed on to us. We're seeing if we can recoup some of that cost with some help from the municipality in every vehicle, since we had to put them in for the CAD system. Each device is between $30 to $40 a month service for connectivity back to the municipality, so we can have the computer-aided dispatch in our vehicles on the municipal supply tablets. Radio and maintenance, as you can see, number 327, we asked for a small increase there. One of those to help us with is recently the county received a grant for about $25 to $26 million for radios. Each department is going to be allotted radios through the county, but we have to have them installed by a Motorola-approved dealer. So all the apparatus that we have to have radios switched out, these new radios installed. So we're kind of hoping to get the offset of the cost. But one way we're going to help try to give that back is the radios that we take out of the apparatus, we pass them along to Public Works or MS4 or somebody else along somewhere in the municipality, so they can all be used, whether they're UHF or VHF frequencies, depending on what frequency they use.
Good idea.
366, the water, we just, a small increase for that. That's for Station 3. 375, we stayed the same. We're well under that, so we didn't ask for any increase there. Contract services, we talked about combining those with hose testing, but we also asked for an increase. Even if it is combined, we still ask for that increase because we do not know what the vendors are going to charge us. The hose testing is priced per foot, the ladders are priced per foot, and then we have pumps, aerial, all those things. If we get increased costs from them, we're not sure what those are going to be, so that's why there's a request there. 520 is the allotment, that's through the agreement, so there's no increase there. And then the fire relief is a pass-through from the state, So that went up this year, and we're hoping, what we're hearing is that's gonna kind of stay more consistent now, no more fluctuation. So we're kind of hoping, so we just kind of carry that number over to 2023.
Jason, did you get a notice that that was going up?
Not till we got the check. We heard that there was rumor that it was gonna go up, but then when we got the check, I think it was last week or 2 weeks ago, we got it, we saw the increase, and then we
We
heard.
actually thought it was gonna go down.
Yeah, and then we heard through the grapevine that now it may stay more consistent rather than fluctuating as it has over the past couple of years. So that might be more consistent now coming in at that same price.
That amount right there?
Yes, yeah,
What are
that's the
these-
one we just got, and that pays for the insurance, the turnout gear, everything through the relief and the Chiefs Association that we allot that through.
And it has some radio capabilities too, to be able to pay for it.
Yeah, yes,
It is.
absolutely.
So this, just for everybody else, this is foreign fire relief money, which is that piece that's received back based upon
that's
the
that's-
ISO rating system that the fire department goes through, plus the municipality, and it's rated, and it comes out of foreign fire relief from the insurance companies back to here, based upon our rating, which we're still currently C4. C4, which we probably won't change, to do that at all, so.
Yeah. And then on the bottom, we just had the capital discussion regarding some upcoming repairs on vehicles to refurb. And then obviously, we have two apparatus coming up in 2026 in the capital budget for replacement. So any questions on 2200 fire suppression? Okay. We'll move over to 2400,
I
which
got a
is,
question for Tim. The municipality takes care of these vehicles, am I correct?
Yes,
They take care of the parts,
yes,
the maintenance,
yes,
oil, lubricants,
yes.
motor vehicle, and
Yes.
why is it in their budget if the municipality's taking care of this?
Each department has.
Well, it is in the budget.
Budget.
Okay.
Every department.
Each department has that budget line.
Okay.
To draw from.
Okay.
That's why a lot of that is auto-generated from the top, like they don't have any control over as far as 6 items.
so we're going to go over to 2400 emergency medical services. That's page 47 in your expenditures. Same setup, the gasoline, oil, and lubricants, that was an auto-generated number, hence the increase there. Medical equipment, we asked for a small increase there. We recently purchased new med vaults that went into all 9 ambulances. Over the past couple of years, each station was buying them. This year, we upgraded all of them to a cloud-based system, so they're now controlled remotely. It's for all the paramedics and PHRNs we have that can access all the narcotics in the trucks. They're in all the ambulances now. They're all cloud-based, so we have one administrator that can update codes. We can run logs. We can see who was in what box and what truck at what time. And then now there's going to be a yearly subscription for that, and it's just going to continue on through the service of those, all that equipment that we have.
Just don't change my number, I just got it.
No, all the numbers are
I got
staying the
remember,
same.
yeah.
It'll just be, if you
Don't
forget
change
it,
my number.
he doesn't have to come out and check it. He can log in remotely and fix it for you.
Just so you understand how that works, it's a safe inside there that has our narcotics. So no matter where the medic's from in Monroeville, they can go to any unit,
Yeah.
punch in their code, and it's their code specific, that they don't give to anyone but them. And they can access that.
It's through the
So-
Knox company, which is who supplies,
Right.
you hear us talk about Knox boxes.
Knox boxes.
And
So
Knox
like-
keys. It's that company, but it's just a separate account away from the municipality.
But we don't have Knox boxes on our businesses?
Yes, we do,
Yeah.
but
Oh,
we
that's a
do.
whole
This
separate
municipal
account.
one.
That's
Whole
through the
different-
fire official here at the municipality. This is a whole separate account through the Monroeville Fire Department.
No, this
That
is
way
just
they're
for
not-
our
there's-
medics, like all of
Yeah.
us, none of us
Gotcha.
are medics.
Yes,
So
we
we
have a
have no
paramedic that
access.
manages that.
We can't open it.
Gotcha.
Okay, but
The electronic parts, 245, we just kind of transferred that around over, no increase there. 250 motor vehicle parts, that was well under, so we stayed there. Tires, we asked for an increase because of those. The telecommunication, for 2022, there was 0. In the 2023 proposed, it added 1,000, as you can see on page 47, that we asked to go up to 6,000 for those cradle points that are in all 9 ambulances. So that was kind of, we divvied them up between both budgets and then allocated them to.
Jason, let me interrupt and stuff too, so these guys had. Part of that is a request from us on this side of
Yeah,
the house, okay?
that was earlier this
Yeah,
year.
to do that, earlier this year. As you'll see, as you see in many of the police cars and fire trucks and the apparatus, you'll see that there's a laptop computer, essentially in this case, or Surface Pro, it's in place from it. When the CAD system, which was 2 budgets ago, was instituted, to better improve that security, was that these had to be upgraded. At which point, we talked about it, we had some emergency management money left over, to which I said, okay, guys, take your computers out of the vehicles, okay, that belong to the organizations. They're our responsibility because increased network security, and you heard Tina talk about that. So actually, those computers, those increased security that goes to that software that's out there. So what happens is, even if these are stolen, it doesn't matter, they can't take it. So it's nothing, and they see CAD data and stuff as well. So the cradle
Key
points have
fobs
been
and
on, you know,
everything.
to make the connection into it, had been into those individual vehicles too. So now we're moving to the next part of it. But it's kind of to fit into our system. But we're finally catching up after 3 years, the start of the program, right?
Yeah.
To do that, and there's still more to be done, you know, to come in forward too. So that's some of that's increased. It looks like it's a huge, from nothing to
Yeah.
something increased, but that's something that we contributed to from municipal side of the house too.
Automobile maintenance, that was well under, so we stayed there. And the ambulance contributions are through the agreement to each departments that stayed where it was. And then below the notes, you can just see some things we did as far as EMS wise. Like I said, we upgraded those drug vaults. We replaced 2 ALS ambulances this year. And then within the next year or two, we're going to replace anywhere between, I think, 3 to 4, depending on manufacturer availability, because there's a couple trucks that have been ordered. We're just sitting on the line somewhere waiting for a cab and chassis, either through Ford or Chevy.
And those are not covered by.
Yeah, those are all funded by the departments, by
Right.
each individual department, who they contract through. And, but they, we talk to the mechanics, talk what kind of vehicles, what kind of cab and chassis, and then try to fit that into
So
the
there's-
department's budget.
Yeah, to just spell it out also for the public too, there is, the emergency medical services is essentially also has the opportunity to, you know, receive billing from the funding that goes into it too, insurance funding as well too. Like everything else that's going up, so our average ambulance that these guys buy, we're over $225,000.
Yeah,
okay?
last year we purchased before discounts were right around 250, so we bought 2 for 500,000. After discounts, trades, we financed for our department alone $400,000.
Right, so there's an
over 5
extensive
years.
expense that's on that side of the house. Now,
But the revenue side, we don't see.
no, we don't see, and
And then-
that's a point I wanted to bring back up to here too. So the revenue side, that's terrific, but that funding also goes to the operation of it. Now, there's a challenge, and we've asked these guys to continue to do that, constant staffing and personnel.
We were gonna make the joke that we don't have any salaries and benefits to talk about, because we front all that to our people. So we don't have any awards
Yeah,
or
the
any.
like Monroeville doesn't see, well, the municipality doesn't see any W-2s from your.
No, Monroeville EMS has the W-2s that go out to all the employees and all that.
With no bling, huh?
No.
No, but
well,
we just got fancy trucks.
Yeah, well, you know what, that's the problem.
Bling tractor on the road.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'd like to say there was bling to go with it, but it hasn't been. And then the operational tempo is not included in here too. So on both the fire and EMS side, that's probably worth discussing now. We're staying pretty darn close to the funding cycles that we have, but operationally, where have we been from fire responses, then from EMS, which I kind of already know the number, but if you guys would, Jason and fire and maybe
As far
Logan,
as
EMS,
the numbers.
total, cumulatively,
Total, probably.
fire
around-
on the side.
Fire, probably 1,000, 1,100,
Okay.
through everybody.
3 times a day, we need the fire department too. Logan, where have we gone cumulatively? You see the total numbers from that too on the EMS side over the last couple of years.
I mean, the EMS numbers have significantly increased. I mean, yeah, we're in the area, I'd say between 8 and 9,000, depending on the year. I mean, just speaking on Station 4's behalf, I mean, last year we did over 4,100 EMS calls for service, and this year we're anticipating to be around 4,300. And I mean,
Is that just number 4, Logan?
it's just out of Station 4, but I mean, all the other stations have seen an increase and a higher demand, so it's.
Now, in some cases, a question I often get asked is, okay, so in some cases, we also, things have gone down and gone to heck in a handbasket in communities around us, and we get involved with that. Part of that is in your EMS licensure. You're supposed to be able to have mutual aid agreements. Okay, that's terrific, but it's still been a little bit on our ticket. Now, that has some positives back to that for the ability to bill and to continue to generate revenue, which is offsetting let me steal your line, Bob, the bling that we're expecting to be that, which isn't there. So it's a terrible business to be in, okay? Because the only way that you actually, you continue to gain revenue is either do one of two things. either expand the area that you cover or go run people over. And I mean, and neither of which, are difficult to do that, and now the costs have spiraled in the last 2 years.
Hourly cost of the employees, the equipment, the trucks and all that,
Health
so.
benefits.
We try to manage and make sure that there's still, there's a policy in place that there's still, equipment available in Monroeville. I believe it's, three ambulances still have to be left in Monroeville for community service.
I'll try to be a little more brief than Eric.
Well, it's hard to explain out.
Where do you guys stand with how many vehicles are sitting at Public Works because of parts?
Right now, we have nothing sitting over there.
Wow,
that I'm
that's
aware
great,
of.
isn't it?
But I mean, it varies, that's not
Oh.
Public
Hit-
Works'
hit or
problem.
miss, yeah.
That's supply and demand.
Yeah.
Right.
And if it's something that we can still use the apparatus while the parts are ordered, they take it over, we take it over there, they look at it, they order the parts, we put it right back in service. We just try to minimize its use if we can and use another one in town. If it's an engine or another ambulance, we try to put it second out rather than having it first out. And as soon as they get the parts, they get it right over, get it fixed and get it back to us.
But also the supply chain is in peace too. And again, knowing this, Logan, where is the status of the ladder truck that we approved for last year, which is in the capital budget, and how's that looking
So the ladder truck that was purchased in January of this year,
this year?
they're, experiencing some severe delays due to supply chain shortages, et cetera. And I mean, it's kind of a common theme everywhere, but we're still waiting to go to pre-build, and then they'll be manufacturing it shortly after that, so.
And how long is the manufacturing process?
I would.
There
hope-
is no
I would
timeline
hope to, I would hope to see that vehicle
Next year.
running the streets of Monroeville by the end of next year.
The end of next year.
Yeah, we have one coming up in 2026 for another aerial, and we're looking to, we've spoken to all the manufacturers to put the order in 2024, so it gets here in 2026.
Well, that's a good point, because so this one,
This one's gonna be late.
it's 2 years late.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that was kind of in the
We can
middle of
talk about this in
COVID
the
for them,
agreement,
so
but I
that
mean,
kind of.
Yeah.
Whenever it comes to replacement,
Yeah.
do we push that out 2 more years because it'll have more of a life? Or is it?
It'll
that's a-
be dated for the year it comes in.
That's what I would think too.
Yeah, so it's still, the life start date for us would still be that day.
When it goes in
it's here.
service.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. But now with speaking with all the manufacturers and knowing what's coming up, same with the ambulances. We know that the wait is gonna be there for at least 2-year minimum, so we're getting everything in line now to order it for next year, so that in 2.5 years when it shows up, we're not behind the 8 ball too bad.
And what could also run us over too, Nick, has been, the ladder truck's now gonna be 22 years old. On top of that too, so it's gonna be past its life cycle. It'll continue to pass its certification. We've been on top of it. That's not
Yeah,
something
they all
that's
go
gonna
through
put
an
our
FDA
eyes.
testing
Sure,
every year
to
for
do
the
that.
aerial. So-
But
And they'll be better than a lot of departments.
Oh, yeah, because
Sure.
we'll sell that to another community somewhere south usually with less salt and less snow and
Right.
they'll
Yeah.
get a longer life.
But some operational costs for standard repairs and maintenance are probably gonna start to go up a little bit too.
Yeah.
Look, your truck was prepaid, and the deal was made with the trade or,
Yes.
Yes, it was prepaid by the municipality.
So we're locked in the price.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we're locked
we've
in.
already-
There's
No
no
trade, that'll go.
No trade.
back to
It's just a
guys
matter of
to sell.
delivery.
Right.
And then once the new ladder
but you're not
truck
gonna
is.
lose no value on the current truck you have.
No.
And the sale of that one,
Yeah,
comes
there was
back
no
to
trade with
Monroeville.
that, that one will.
Oh, that wasn't traded?
No, the municipality will sell
No, no,
that,
no.
just like any
Okay.
other.
The-
I thought that was.
Yeah.
the ladder trucks are
traded.
titled to Monroeville and then departments. The
Yeah,
invert,
just the departments facilitate the sale between,
Right.
because we speak that language, people here may not. So we talk to the other communities, people that are interested in buying it, and then once that sale comes close, then we turn it over to the municipality and everybody else, and then they handle the sale and the paperwork and the money. The money comes back to the municipality.
You initiate it, we take over and blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
So the ambulance contributions, the 185,
So that's in the agreement, that just comes, that's per station, they get it's part of the allotment. We have a fire allotment and an
what's your
EMS
break,
allotment.
how do you guys work that out?
It's 20,000 per ambulance.
per ambulance.
And then, 5,000 for number 3, so.
For PRS.
Quick response service.
And then the fire
'Cause
is.
they don't have an ambulance.
The fire is 10,000.
okay.
So if you look back at the fire, it's 50,000, which goes 10,000 per department. So each 4 departments will get 50,000, and then another one will get 15,000, yeah.
Yeah, I'm just bringing that up, just curious how it got divvied up, and then it's also, because Mr. Little has it in his budget message as well.
Yeah.
because that was a capital expenditure that was introduced late 2019 before the 2020 budget.
Correct, yeah. Yep.
And it's included in this one, but it's not know whether it's an annual expense. It's capital expenses will be evaluated every year based on need and the availability of municipal funds. So how is this working for the actual ambulances that each of the,
It helps us pay our payroll.
Yeah, that it helps goes towards
so
the
it's more
cost of the
for
trucks.
payroll, more so than, say, the upkeep of the ambulances themselves?
Yeah, because that's all handled here.
It's a little different for each station. I can tell you that I didn't have full-time crews at my station until the municipality was able to help me pay for insurance benefits for full-time crews.
So you were able to take that out of that amount of
Correct.
money?
Yep.
That's, I guess, what I was trying to get into. I know we're
You
breaking
kind
it
of
up.
freeze up.
Yeah, every-
You kind of freeze up whatever money you have.
Yeah.
It ends up being a wash, kind of. It helps us
It
free
goes
up
into
money
our
to
general
pay.
account, but without that, we wouldn't have been able to budget for full-time.
And then the original intent also crosses the other expenses, hard expenses for the vehicles and equipment.
Correct.
That's not necessarily covered. So, for example, heart monitors are a cooperative agreement with Forbes in this particular case. But the ambulance stretcher
Like
costs
you
as
see
much
in
as
there,
a
we
heart
added
monitor.
that now every ambulance has a load system and a power cot, which will reduce shoulder and back injuries, leg injuries for lifting.
It's-
And
VFIS
the cot
loves us
is-
for that.
Is 20,000 just for the stretcher. The load system is 20,000. So that's a $40,000 cost that goes into a $200,000 truck.
Nick, we're trying to keep you out of business. Sorry.
Yeah, and then
Well, the patients aren't getting smaller, that's for sure.
That's right.
The
they're
the
not.
maintenance plans on those are $10,000 for the maintenance plan, and that's only for 5 years. And you're gonna keep that thing for 10 to 12 years.
Right.
So, but.
Council, any other questions for
Everything
the
we have, any
chiefs?
questions on anything?
I just wanted to, we're talking about fuel and tires, parts and whatever. I know you guys go have a mutual agreement with a lot of communities.
Yes.
And the Monroeville taxpayers are footing the bill for these fuel and the tires and everything. And I don't know if we could work out some kind of deal with these communities where the municipality would get something
Well,
back.
Well, Mike, it's kind of on, even before you guys get to that. So since then, no question these guys, I approached one of the communities, particularly on the EMS side of it. And I said, listen, how about it? Okay, they're sort of that direction from us, as they were there too. And the answer was, nope, we're not interested in that type of piece of it at the time, only because, guys, you generate revenue when you bill with the patients. Yeah, sort of, okay.
That's theirs, though.
I
That's, these
know,
guys, we
but
have well-trained guys.
I
and-
know. So the consideration will have to be, as we move forward in public safety for this year, is how we organize some of those agreements. I think it's come to that point, we've started to talk about it as well. So where do we sit with there? How does it, what's the risk and the benefit? So for example, number 6, for example, has done a terrific job. The extra work that they've done has increased our staffing in town because they're able to pay for it, too, which they never were in the past, okay, to operate additional services. That's just one class example for it, from it, without degrading it and going below the 3 ambulance limit that these guys have set. Okay, so right now.
Before they even had that one ambulance, so it kind of, our
That's
total
correct.
number was less.
Our total was less,
Yeah.
to do that. So that was one problem. But I think that it's going to be a serious conversation in this year's, as we get through this and move to public safety, to say, are we going to do that? Are we going to lose money? Or are we going to continue to do that? To your point, and you've asked me this question before, Bob, you've asked me this question, as we look for it, it's up here. Is it really in our benefit? Some places a little bit, but now we have to start to pull back. On the fire side of the house, there's no really billable service and stuff that happens. However, if you've noticed when we, last substantial fire we had down here in Miracle Mile and stuff in place, our ability to, and might as well say it here, it was, to do that, to have within Monroeville, at one point, in my career, there's been over 200 available personnel to do that. We don't have that. We have less than half of that available to do that. So that, on the fire side of it, is turning more closely into, a joint, hey, you help us, we'll help you more. Granted, people still lean on us a little more than other places because, running the
We
show
fund it.
properly.
We fund it appropriately.
Yeah,
Well,
fund
we
it
have-
appropriately.
We have the
But I think that-
live-ins and more.
Yeah.
We got, Monroeville has a bigger name that we have, the more
We have
staffing.
manpower more than
We have manpower.
most communities.
If I may,
Staffing.
we do not want to deplete the money that you guys make. But we do fund the tires, the gas,
Oh,
all that kind of stuff. So we have some input here that we
Absolutely.
need to discuss
Yep.
with these other communities. So, just so you're aware of that, we've talked about it. We haven't moved on it yet, but it's gonna be moved on.
Yeah, well, I did one part, well, that's not even the worst part, Bob. I mean, that's the tangible, we know the numbers and stuff to go up. What concerns me has always been, public safety, particularly on the EMS side of the house, offers an opportunity for liability exposure. It happens all the time. Everything from whether we're responding to something and we're involved in an accident, which has happened, in public safety for us, law enforcement and everyone as
The
well.
more times you're on the road, the higher risk of incidents.
That's correct, as well as, errors and omissions, medical liability and malpractice, that follows along with those too. So I think that's true, and to Bob's point, yeah, we're gonna start to think about that. What's our benefit of going those places to do it? So our responsibility is here first, our
Right.
responsibility.
From a humanitarian standpoint, we want to help people, want to help our
Right.
neighbors and everything, but from a taxpayer standpoint, it's not fair to our taxpayers if other communities are maybe reducing the amount that they're funding their fire and EMS because they know that, hey, well, Monroeville
Yeah,
will bail us
Monroeville's
out if
coming.
we have a
Yeah,
problem.
absolutely.
So there's some give and take there, so I think it's something to just.
And they do help us, just as,
Oh,
maybe
absolutely,
not
yeah.
as much,
Yeah.
but we do rely on mutual aid big time.
Certainly. And I think that's just how it's.
Yeah, the more
works
people
across the
coming into
the
this
country.
town as
Yeah.
opposed to us going out is very lopsided, because when we don't have a lot of fires and we have so many ambulances that we usually don't need other people to come in, even when we have a large incident. I think the last one we had was that one on Old William Penn. We staffed all 9 ambulances for a crash, and we just needed more because there's more patients.
Just so you guys know that that's something we're looking at.
Oh, we completely understand that. We knew that coming into this.
Okay, because
So-
we don't want to surprise you.
Oh, no, we knew that. We knew that just because other communities and everywhere else was talking, so we knew that was something that was coming anyways. So,
Steve, do you have something?
Look, I got a question. You might have some input on this. How much longer are we gonna have to wait for parts for that opticon light at Northern Pike and 48?
I've sent a few emails regarding that. There was some extensive
Hugus.
damage to that, and they
it'd be a
are
Paul
working
Hugus,
hard to
Jamie.
get that replaced.
Did you see how bad that was tonight? I don't know who was driving, but
Yeah, oh, yeah.
I was
It's not
right beside it,
functioning.
It can be a mess, yeah.
yeah,
Is it not functioning
at all.
at any of the intersections there?
This way.
Either direction, or is it only one?
Coming from our
north and
fire
south?
station is not functioning. I can't recall if it is functioning. in
I have
the
not
other
seen it
direction.
functioning the other way.
Yeah, it is it's a pretty big hazard. So, I've been working with, the representative from Public Works to try and keep up on that and go from there.
Yeah, because it turned, they were coming down, 48 just changed the turn. They have no place to go, and I was just waiting to see a wreck because nobody was pausing, and they were blasting the horn.
Well, we'll work on that. Council, any other questions for the fire chiefs this evening?
Thank you, gentlemen.
Gentlemen, thank you so much.
very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, guys.
We really appreciate it. Thank you.
Bug our pizzas.
Yeah, wake him up when you go out. if you
Yeah,
would.
tell them it's his turn.
All
Tell
right,
them we're
council,
done. We
we're
adjourn.
moving up to our last presenter this evening, our
We
police
adjourn.
chief, Doug Cole,
Under the desk.
presenting the police department budget for 2023.
That was good.
You're right.
Bring it, they're tired, they don't just hear it from me.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't just hear it from me, thank you.
And as a reminder, our next
but I mean-
public hearing will be next Thursday, November 3rd, beginning at 6:30 PM. We'll be going over our other departments.
Pulling into TV cameras and everything. Thank you, Doug. We'll adjourn.
Chief Cole, welcome.
Mayor, thank you. As always, appreciate the opportunity to present the budget. Is there any questions that you have?
What page we looking, or what
think
page
they,
is?
I only have, I know the municipal manager requested these to be
It starts on
a little bit earlier, but since we had to redo them, if you could take one and pass it, I would appreciate it. I just have a flow chart as the department sits right now. Currently under my command, I guess, is 44 sworn officers, including myself, and 14 civilian people, which 3 are in the, one's an IT, one's my administrative assistant, the other one takes care of the vehicles, Dave O'Neill, which kind of has more than just my department. And the other part of the civilian staff is the dispatchers, both full-time and part-time. The flow chart you got in front of is the current flow chart with the 44 officers and how the department's set up. We have positions for 9 full-time dispatchers. We're down 1 there, and I think we have 3 part-time right now in the dispatch office.
It's sort of 30.
If you're looking for pages.
29, page 29, Council.
29.
Yeah, there it is. Okay.
Yeah, this is the admin side, 29.
Page 29.
You're in revenue. It's expenditures.
Oh, you didn't say expenditure.
I guess we could start with my administration side of the budget, if you'd like to do that. I do have a couple pictures I'd like to show of we have been migrating, but of course the time, and we're having the same problem with, as everybody's having, getting parts. We call it the OEM, the aftermarket stuff that you put on the vehicles in order to make them, put the light bars, the prisoner transport seats, the back part of the vehicles, the in-car camera, everything, the computer, the radios, the consoles, all the stuff that goes with that. We've been having problem with some parts. We've had 4 vehicles sitting over at the municipal building that have been, that are hybrids. We have 2 that we got bought the year before that. Of the 4, we only got 1 of them operationally now, so there's 3 on the road. We certainly are budgeted for next year. Thank you, Jared. That's a hybrid vehicle. They look the same as the other ones. We are certainly, if you want to show the next picture too. It's with the front of them. One more again, Jared.
Double parked.
The other
Yeah.
side, yeah, double parked. At least it looks
Police
like it's pretty
violation,
clean. I think the next one will show you what the back looks like, or the inside, I should say. That's what the back of the vehicle looks like. We tried to standardize that in all the vehicles because we're on that platform of the SUV platform or the Ford Explorer platform. They are 4-wheel drive vehicles or all-wheel drive computer generated. They don't need to have chains on them in the wintertime. We used to do that with the cars years ago. They are really functional police cars, and certainly they were at least made to be police cars, even in the hybrid setup.
So from a performance standpoint, the officers are happy with it?
They are happy with them. We've had some issues with some check engine lights and some stuff there, but I think for the most part, they've been minimal. That's what the inside of the vehicles look like. Specifically, you can see the new in-car camera system on the top. The computer, believe it or not, it's an older computer. It's going to be changed in the near future, literally next week, first week, second week of November. We have more of a notebook type with a different type of a keyboard to make even more room in the front of the vehicles. That's the in-car camera system that, of course, goes out to the front. And then the next picture, I think you're going to see one of the officers. Jared, keep moving through that. Give me one more picture, or there's only a couple more.
Oh, that's a good one
Not
there.
that picture.
Got any more? Yeah, not me, I'm just standing here.
No more.
No more?
That's all we got.
That's all we
Sorry.
got. I thought there was a couple more in there. So there's pictures of the officers, we'll get, that's pictures of the cars. So, in addition, that in-car camera that we were showing, the screen inside the vehicle, obviously there's a camera that faces out the front of the windshield. That's in conjunction with the body cameras that we purchased on a capital expenditure, now going on about a year and a half. And that's going to be one of the upgrades I want to talk about in the budget, that we have to add a little bit more money to the contracted services. We want to get them put on a contract, so it's coming out of warning. And there's Officer or Sergeant Bish, excuse me, standing in front of the car. You can see the body camera to the right of him. The other thing that I wanted to show is we're also starting to go to the body armor outside the shirt, or the vest over the shirt, and that's what he's wearing there. The reason we're doing that is for, that's how they'll look here. That's really been in a test mode for that for the past month and a half, 2 months. We've just approved that we're going to work it all to the officers are going to have the option to do that. Those officers that do decide to wear the vest outside their rear, or instead of underneath their shirt, body armor, it's an option for them. As such, they'll use their uniform allowance. There's no expense to the municipality other than their normal yearly uniform allowances, which we've been budgeted for. So we're not doing a wholesale uniform change. We're just putting an option to the current uniform.
Is that more comfortable for the officers?
They're more comfortable. They take the weight off the hips. As you get older, believe it or not, the hips, I notice that I'm lucky that I don't have to wear a gun belt the whole time. The only thing that's going to be allowed the only thing that will not be allowed on the vest is going to be the taser and the firearm. They have to be on your hips still. Taser, what we call cross draw, or on a non-dominant side, so we don't have an accidental, somebody's grabbing their handguns thinking they have a taser. Unfortunately, as we all know, that happened up very dramatically up in Minnesota here in the past couple of years, where, we keep that separate. We try to, and that's the other reason why the tasers are yellow. Again, to try to make them different than the handguns.
What kind of precipitation are you getting from the officers on wearing the vest instead?
Well, I think we just got it started. We got 3 or 4 doing it now, but I think we're going to have almost 100% participation.
Okay.
The uniform guys in patrol probably won't be 100%, but it'll be pretty close.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Is that the same vest that you wear inside and out? or
Yes,
is it-
what you do is you change the panels into different types of carriers, and that's absolutely, and they meet all the NIJ standard, so that we're meeting the standards for the National Institute of Justice for the level of protection they provide.
Doug, how about driving a car? It seems kind of.
Those guys seem it's just as comfortable for them.
Really?
Really. The other option is with these type of outer carriers, the undershirt can be a uniform shirt like I'm wearing, or it can be like a golf shirt. Looks the same as a uniform shirt, so we're going to option that too, that they will have a different undergarment that they can wear underneath the vest.
For
So
summer
that,
months, I
and the winter months, they can long sleeves or short sleeves. They'll be both ways. We're currently working our way into long sleeves. It's optional now. I mean, it obviously, by I think the first pay period in November, it's going to be mandatory. All the officers will be in long sleeves. But it's just a way to make it more comfortable. Where the real issue here, Tim, is we can wear suspenders with it too for the belt, and it'll be hidden by that vest and can take more weight. And so the more weight that you get off your hips, I mean, think about it. The military's been doing it that way for tens and 20s, hundreds of years. They've been doing it for a long time. So and it's been something that came out of Europe and all that, and it's now across the country. I mean, if you look at watch any of the TV shows or anything like that, vast majority of the departments are in some type of outer carrier, as they call them. So, and even in our location, you go, all the neighboring municipalities, the city of Pittsburgh's in it. The only full aid, the Allegheny County Police are in it. The only large agency that hasn't done it yet in this state is the Pennsylvania State Police, but there's state police agencies across the country, California Highway Patrol, Ohio Highway Patrol, Florida Highway Patrol. And so the other option it gives when you come into the office, you can easily take it off and gives you to do the paperwork and easily don it again as you go out the door. So it's long. We were kind of I was probably a little bit slow getting into it. I wanted to make sure we were picking the right one and making sure that we're meeting still all the standards. But the guys have been really testing them really for the past year, really, but in earnest the past 2 or 3 months.
Very good.
So that's just the update I wanted to bring for that. As I said, any questions on the budget? I mean, the budget changes here. The only thing that I would like to do, one thing that we did miss when I spoke with Josie and Tim was I missed speaking of body cameras, our body cameras and our in-car cameras are out of warranty now because they've been in for over a year. And I'd like to add some money to the patrol budget, contracted services, so that I can, that's the only line I want to really change, so that I can
Which
keep
line
the
is that, Doug?
predominant. It'd be the contracted services in the patrol budget. I'll tell you the line in a
From
second.
40,000 to what?
Put another 20,000 on it, up to
On the
60,000.
patrol.
No, in the patrol budget, is that what you said?
Yes, patrol budget,
833,
so that would be page, you say, I'm sorry.
33, sir.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
From 100
50,
to,
it's 100, yeah.
Yeah, it should have more than, because there's a lot of other things that are in that contracted service side of it.
100.
So it's currently 100.
Yeah, I'd like to take
40.
120.
120.
And what that is that's full warranty on 26 in-car cameras that we have in our marked vehicles and our unmarked vehicle that's used in patrol, which is the one you just saw, the little picture of the front and the camera out the front, and then 50 body cameras. And if something goes wrong with the body cameras, it gives automatic upgrades. You just send it out, they send you another one, it's fixed immediately. So the guys are wearing that continuously. We've had unbelievable cooperation with the rank and file, everybody wearing it. I can, I could show you some videos, put it that way.
Doug, is that increase, you gave me this a couple months ago. Is that from, you had,
Yeah, that's just part of that whole, the Vista cameras, that was just, I think that was a security thing, Tim, was that what that was about? I have
it
to
says
look at it.
WatchGuard.
Yeah, it's WatchGuard. WatchGuard was bought out by Motorola. And they are, so now it's a whole Motorola system, Motorola being the radio guys, as you all know.
Question, Doug.
Sure.
Josie and Tim were nice enough to double your fuel cost, but now you got hybrid. Shouldn't we cut that back?
Bob, I wish I could tell you that was exactly going to work. I think in the future you can. Obviously, what we're doing, you know, we have what they call a partial take-home program, which our supervisors take the vehicles home. So those vehicles end up lasting in our queue 7 or 8 years. That's how long. Now, the ones that are being used by patrol are used, we assign a car to the guys that bid the same days off on first, second, and third. So it gets run 5 days a week, 25, or 24/7, or 24/7 for that, or 24/5, I guess. And then it's used this, we have extra details, they may take it and that kind of stuff. So those cars that are used with 3 guys in patrol get somewhere close to 100,000 miles after 3 years. So you're pushing the life of those cars, and in the past, we used to hand them down to other municipal, well, with hybrids now, we got to worry about a 7-year period here when the batteries may need to be replaced. And if we go to the right, we don't know how that's going to play out. Nobody, I mean, they've been using hybrids here now for probably 5 years. The NYPD, Chicago, the big cities, LA, they've all been trying them, but nobody's really got themselves into a 10-year period of using nothing but hybrids or electric vehicles to see how they are going to survive post-use when you get done using them. Our problem now is there's really only 2 cars full-time, at least for this year so far, that were hybrids that are being used. We got the 3rd one in service here within the past month. You know, we don't have the vehicles out. I hope, as we budget capital, we're trying to budget 5 cars a year. Obviously, we'll buy 5 more hybrids next year if that budget, the capital budget holds that. And we're going to hopefully have at that point, you know, somewhere in the neighborhood of 11 vehicles, primary frontline vehicles, running the vast majority of our calls, all being hybrid. And that's when you're going to see the fuel savings, I hope.
Another question. Has anyone looked at, after that 7-year period, is the battery still going to work or not work? And what is the cost of a new battery, or should you not do that?
You're hitting the nail, again, a great question. We really don't know. I can tell you that it is guaranteed for that 7 years. So if something goes wrong with that battery, automatic warranty gets replaced by the manufacturer. So we're not going to have to worry about the 7 years. If we keep them longer than 7 years, we're going to have to start being,
That's a long
concerned about.
time to keep a police car.
Sure, well, but, Tim, we do. I mean, when you look at the vehicles, not the police cars, we had been rotating them down. I mean, look at Paul Yugas just got a new car here. He had my old car from 2 times ago. So that car that he traded in, I think, was 14 years old. So it wasn't like we were being frivolous with the cars. We were using them in other, as you well aware, also, Mike, we were using them in other areas. That option's probably not going to be available for us. I mean, the cars are, I think they're very functional. They meet really, if you drive one, when it sits there, you'll see a police car sitting at the scene of a hybrid. It'll have the lights going, the radio's on, the computer going, the heater, air conditioner blasting, and it'll sit there for hours and not run and handle that. That's how powerful those batteries are. And the same thing happens, one of the other reasons we need it, the manager used to complain all the time, he'd pull in here and see the cars running, okay, and he would yell at me about that. So I'm just trying to prevent that. But I mean by that, but now when it pulls in, we had to leave them run because we had to leave the computers up. We didn't want to have to re-log in again. Of course, we wanted to leave the heat on and the air conditioning on too, but whatever season it is. But the real reason, the other real reason is the in-car camera is a Wi-Fi upload. So when he pulls in and sitting there, and those cars are, now they sit there, they don't even know you're running, but they're running because they leave them on, the hybrids at least, obviously, the gas cars, you know they're running. And it just sits there and it uploads all the video. And some of that can take a half hour, 45 minutes to upload, depending on how large the video is in the in-car camera.
What did you say the life of the hybrid is?
Saying 7 years. They're saying the batteries, well, correction, they're saying the battery is guaranteed for 7 years. They don't know what the life's gonna really be. On a car being used 24/7 and being
Pittsburgh,
used
I
like
s- I find that
taxis or
hard
like,
to-
well, they don't know
In the
yet.
south and the west, maybe, we're a drier climate and a less humid climate, or we're just warm. But in Pittsburgh and in northern climates, I find that hard to believe that this police car is gonna last 7 years.
That's a good
But,
point. Well, find
I mean,
out.
the resale on them, you know, if you're getting rid of them in a 5-year period,
Right,
you ain't gonna have no one wanting to buy them if they gotta incur a cost of a battery.
yeah, I agree.
And you can't
And I
hand it.
did, and I have heard I've heard, this is just not official, thrown out, they think that battery's $8,000. So if you're gonna throw $8,000 to putting that new battery in there, why in the same heck are you keeping the car if you got 100,000 miles on it? That's the argument. So again, Mike, I don't know what it's gonna be, I really don't. Again, you know, this obviously is being pushed by the environmental people, but it seems like these electric cars are getting better and better and better. I don't need to tell, I know Bob, I mean, they're getting better.
And there's federal
Our guys have
subsidy.
had no degradation in service. The cars are good cars. In fact, they love them because there's some instant torque to them. They pick up and go, they go from
Yeah.
0 to 60 faster than the gasoline vehicle.
The only problem they're having is down south. I don't know if we're gonna say the same thing, Bob, but they're saying that the salt in the air is damaging the batteries and they're catching on fire.
Well,
Yeah, my brother works in a shop and he says that your car's going by down the street and poof,
we're not.
and it's assault, they're saying.
We're not parking them inside.
I know.
So if they catch on fire, they'll be outside. Fire hazard is something that people are looking at.
Yeah.
New York City Fire Department just put out a big thing on, you know, they're really concerned was the lithium electric bikes. People would take the bicycles into the apartment buildings, they catch on fire, burn out the apartment building. So those things, everybody's looking at that. So that's the life of battery-operated vehicles right now till we figure them all out.
The nice thing about a hybrid, if the battery goes dead, that car will still run.
Well, that's correct. The gas kicks in and it still runs. It certainly. You don't see any real difference in the car. I mean, you know, they look the
It's a
same.
V8 for a four-cylinder.
Yeah, they look the same.
They'll scream them tires off every time you pull out if you want.
So I think that was the right move for us. And so far, again, we have 3 on the field, and we will hopefully by the end of this year have a total of 6 out and about. But that's our goal. And again, our problem is that the OEM people, and even now that they're getting the parts, they're so backlogged, we can only get one done, it seems, a month. Have them upfitted. You know, they're already painted, you know, they're all painted, they're striped up, they're ready to go. It's just the fact that they gotta get all the light bars, the cages, you know, the personal transport cages, the back stuff, they need to get all that, sirens, all the radios, consoles, in-car
I mean, you
camera.
mentioned you wanted to get more hybrids, but, I mean, if they're basically throwaway vehicles, you ain't gonna be able to sell them, you ain't gonna be able to hand them down.
Well, no,
Is
we'll
it-
be able to put them on gov deals and get some value.
I mean, what
out
are
of
you
it.
gonna get if
Well,
someone's gotta spend $8,000 on a
Nobody
battery?
knows yet, right?
You gotta
They
compensate.
really don't know. There'll be parts. I mean, we're gonna get something for them. We're not just gonna
The
lose,
price.
but they're not gonna be in a position where you can, we could hand them down to other departments again too, Mike. It go as long as they go till the battery goes on them, and that may be 10 years, but we don't know. But they're guaranteeing 7 years.
Like I said, even if the battery goes, you can still run the car until the wheels fall off on gasoline.
Well, maybe. I mean, but I think,
can't?
but I,
Yeah,
You don't have
yeah,
to
yeah.
replace that?
no, it's not totally electric.
Oh,
They're
okay.
a
Gasoline
hybrid.
electric.
Yeah, and the question would come down to, you know, just where, we gotta think that through a little bit more, because we won't have those cars being pushed on, but we're already having the other departments buy their cars anyway, so, I mean, I think we're getting to that, it's a good deal.
I misunderstood, I thought the car was.
No, it's not fully
Run
electric.
if the
Well,
battery
and that
was-
circles
got a gas-
back to our question about fuel and costs too. So some of it has been buffered, you know, I mean, Josie and Tim were like guessing because things were going to hell in a handbasket for fuel costs as well, but it's still a part of the police budget, you know, to do that as well, so.
Josie, what were we paying for fuel before everything started hitting with the,
What were we paying?
Yeah,
I don't
you
know
don't
what
know.
we were paying per.
per gallon?
gallon.
Yeah, we get a good price on it, but do you think it went up 50%? Yeah, it probably did go up 50%.
Well, if not 50%, pretty damn close to it.
Yeah, good point.
Let me mention something here. When we did this budget, we were looking at, September actual. And we determined what that per month cost would be.
Right.
And like, extrapolated it out to 12 months, and it came up to just about double.
And it may be lower now, because at
It
that time.
It did drop a little bit, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it dropped, it's probably dropped about 15% gas,
Mm-hmm.
I would say.
It was a good guess. You did good.
Well,
It was an unthought of expense, so. But I mean, other than that's the only thing, obviously, when you want to talk about manpower, as I said, we have 5 guys in training now that have been hired through the process this year. We certainly, that puts us at 44 sworn as we speak now. When you would look at that, it's going to be 5 officers still in detectives, myself, 6 of us, quote unquote, outside the patrol division. The patrol lieutenant in charge of the patrol division, we got him situated. He's still part of the staffing there and also part of the minimum manning for those shifts when he needs to happen. So that was a good use of that position. We have 9 supervisors in place, 3 on each shift, including the shift lieutenant on daylight. So that's all working out the way we did, which, has been affecting our supervisor overtime has been down because of that. But certainly our patrol overtime, because as it sits now, we are very low on third shift as we're talking, just based on there's a couple people off on both short-term and long-term disability. So that even hurts us a little bit more. I've always wanted to be at that 50 category for officers. Certainly I understand the economic situation that's going on here now, but if, I guess with the numbers you're seeing here, if you take a look at the patrol division, it's down almost I think compared to last year, it's down 50 or maybe $100,000 or maybe a little bit more than that.
In totality,
Almost
it's more
500.
than that, because you're gonna put that increase on there.
The 5 new guys are still riding with somebody.
Yeah, they are not part of the staffing, minimum staffing, that's correct. They have a
So-
6-month probation.
And how long have they been riding? So
Roughly, they come off probation, we were looking at today because of bids, March 8th. So they still have, 5 months, 4 months
yeah.
more. They've only been out a month.
I thought they only had 6 monthts.
Yeah, they've only been on the.
They've only been
base-
out for a month.
Meaning working for a
September,
month,
actually.
6 weeks, yeah.
Okay.
We're going to see them for swearing in, aren't we?
Our goal is to do that, council meeting, absolutely, Mayor, absolutely, we'd like to swear them
At the council meeting.
in. At the council meeting, yes, sir.
Yes, they're already sworn in.
Yeah, they're officially
Ceremonious,
sworn
yeah,
in
we'll
ceremoniously.
ceremoniously
Yeah,
swear them in
We did
at
it,
the
we
council meeting.
dotted the i's and crossed the t's, so they were prepared at the beginning.
Doug, you want to talk a little bit about flock or not?
We could talk quickly. We currently, and even tonight, I was just telling, on break, some of the council persons that, we get a hit on a license plate reader, 22 and 48, end up getting, 1 stolen car, 3 or 4 guns, 2 or 3 suspects arrested. You saw early when things were running around here early on, seized 3 cars, and that was all because of a license plate hit on a stolen vehicle out of Leetsdale. Those license plate readers have been, you talk to anybody in the business, any chief here that's seen them, they've been unbelievably effective. Again, we have to give, DA Sapala an attaboy for that. He was ahead of the curve on that. But as that's been playing out over the past, we were one of the first units to get involved in them. Mayor, as you're well aware, we got involved in them after some incidents down at the mall, and they've been a godsend for law enforcement. So that's probably what, 17? I think that was 2017-ish. So now as the system has played itself 5 years into it and it's grown into multiple counties, the DA, the people that were doing it initially can't sustain it, and they sold it, they wanted to sell, well, they sold some of the rights to a national company, and that's caused a big thing with the DA's office about what we're gonna do, because the cost would go up, the maintaining them was costing us, we'll throw some numbers out, say $10,000 a year. They're talking about that each camera is gonna be $2,300 a camera, and we got 10 license plate reader cameras plus. So that would go from 10 grand to 23,000 at a minimum, and that's not talking about any type of repair, and things that we have to do to tweak it. So the reason I didn't want to really, I'm glad the manager brought it up, but really, we don't know where that's gonna go. They're in negotiations pretty heavily now that we think that price is gonna come down substantially. It won't be as dramatic of an increase. So I'm hoping, based on what I'm hearing, because I put extra money into these contracted services, of which we just put another 20,000 in hopefully, that we'll be able to cover that with the current budget that we have set up here for 2023.
And that's the operating cost of the license plate readers, not the capital expense of installing more, which is on the capital side.
That's correct.
That's just the,
The current ones that we have now,
and the cloud bay and everything that goes with it.
everything that goes with it. It
But are
doesn't,
there other,
it doesn't include just the license plate reader. It does not include the video cameras that we have at those intersections. They're maintained on that's around 3,500 a year. So that's already pre-budgeted for.
is that per camera?
No, it's per the whole thing.
3,500 for the year?
Yeah, see that,
But is that the same system?
yeah.
Or
Yes
that's-
and
are
no.
we getting- But then I guess
The
what I'm-
same company at the time was taking care of that system. They are actually two separate systems. There's different server banks to hold them in the clouds. There's different ways that they secure that video. Obviously, it's out on the cloud now. We can access it anywhere with an internet connection and password and all the protections they have on it. But if something really went off at one of those intersections we had to get to, they're also recorded at the intersections and stored for a shorter period of time, so we can get to them.
But are there other companies in the mix?
Oh, yes.
Is this something that?
Motorola might be one of the companies in the mix
we
too.
might
They're
get-
even more
we might get
expensive.
Might get to a point where we, as the municipality, may have a choice from different vendors.
Oh, yeah.
That'll operate those.
But I would suggest, though, that we would want to stay with what the
Yeah, 'cause
chiefs
it's a whole-
committee and what the
yeah.
district attorney decides.
Oh, certainly. I
I'm
just didn't
totally in
know
favor.
that if-
And I've
if
told the
everyone-
DA that from day one, if you guys, I'm part of the committee with that too, though, Mary.
You-
But the problem is they have Beaver counties in it, Westmoreland county's in it, Washington county's in it, Butler County's in it.
And there's some bulk
He's gone
pricing,
all the
too,
way out.
as well.
And the other talk is if you go with Flock, as you said, it's a national. In theory, we could enter a plate into the system and we could track somebody all the way to the state of California. So we don't have that capability now. Our system's localized with the multiple counties. But there's technology coming out that could make it it will tie it all together. So it's just an effective system that I can't tell you. In my law enforcement, 37 years, Taser's the best, less lethal I've ever seen. This thing's probably the best investigative tool I've ever seen.
Doug, you mentioned repairs. Does that translate to our people that do the traffic lights and all of that?
No.
Or that somebody
Another
completely
company comes in and
independent?
does it, and they maintain them.
So
And that's what Flock's argument is, if Flock charges us $2,200 or $2,300, $2,500 a camera, they are gonna own the camera. We currently own all the hardware, and we own all the stuff, all the data too. They're saying, if we do that, we're gonna own the hardware, and the second it breaks, we replace it, you never pay anything different, but, $2,300 a year, you could buy 4 cameras with that, for each camera that they're putting. So that's why they know that price can come down, and that's been the big battle here at school.
One last thing, I think maybe, I hate to protract it, but I do think maybe talk about K-9, and I know you had that. Do we have,
I don't want 4 more police officers, 2 cars.
No, I'm thinking, it's just something council
A helicopter,
start
a
thinking
drone.
about. And, because I know you've been thinking about it, and now might be the time to at least discuss K-9.
Yeah.
Because that
Councilman-
means, because council has to understand, that means if you get 2 K-9s, that means 2 more cars.
Not necessarily.
I'll hold you to that.
Then the issue would be, as we replace cars, we would look at keeping some of those cars that maybe we'd normally either passed on, especially the older cars.
Okay.
So there's some ways we can have the vehicles pretty quick. We're not gonna give them a brand-new car. My goal is to put 2 K-9s in here eventually and figure out how to do that. There's 2 issues that you and I've talked about. One is how we pay them to meet all the fair labor standards, or the acts that we have to meet with the federal government and the local governments, and, the officers gotta be properly compensated for that. The second problem has always been manpower. It is manpower. You're taking 2 officers. Now, the way we did it in the past is we kept it as part of the patrol division, so they counted toward our minimums, and they were out. But of course, like anything else, they would get detailed to drug investigations, or they'd be detailed or out to some other area to do even a SWAT standoff. We had, years back, we had our K-9s down in Verona with the FBI doing stuff. So they went everywhere. As the K-9s currently now that help us do, they come here and help us. I'm all in favor of 2 dogs. I think we should do it. I'm hoping next year we can get to it. I believe we can get it funded by grants. okay? Obviously, we have some money in asset seizure if we can't get grants to pay for the dogs. Paying for the dogs, that capital expenditure, even if it's $10,000, really is the minimal part of it.
Exactly. That's
It's
what
the whole
it's for.
employee side of it, the training side of it, the maintenance side of it, even the capital expenditures for the kennels in the back of the police cars that we
Yeah, you
use,
gotta
or the
retrofit the
vehicles.
cars, yeah.
That's not, that's the minimal part of this. The longer term part of this is the utility of the dogs, making sure that they're functional for our type of a department. And then the second part of that, which they call them utility dogs, they'll be dual trained with, sniffing for drugs and doing the bite and hold and doing the tracking and all that. But the second then part of it is the making sure you pick the right handlers for them and that you get a good 5 or 6 years use out of that dog. And that's what you want to do. The dog, the capital cost, I believe it or not, I think a dog costs $6,000 now. We can come up with that.
It was more than that.
The cost of the dog. The
That's
training
what
on
I
top,
thought
I
it
think
was
it's
about
about 6, I think it's 6, but I think then you're gonna buy it off of a breeder that's also gonna put you into a training, and the training is anywhere between 8 to 10 weeks. So you're gonna lose the officer for 8 to 10 weeks while you get them trained up.
Are you saying they wouldn't be on patrol, though?
Oh, no, they would be. They would be part of patrol. Absolutely, they have to be part of patrol. And you can't buy a specialty dog like, if you want to go out and buy a bond sniffing dog and do that only, that doesn't work us at all. We have to have a utility type dog.
So then, as far as the handlers, how does that typically work? Is that something that the officers,
Yeah, we make them apply for it, we interview
they
them.
apply for, you interview, then you go
Yeah,
from there and you
yeah,
train
there's no real testing for it. You could argumentatively have a physical agility test because you got to run with the dog, but we kind of pick the guys that are interested. We will have an interest, we'll have more than enough candidates. for
In the
dog.
past, we've had how many?
We
at a
at one time had 4.
We had 4 at one time.
Yeah,
How many does Penn Hills have currently?
they're now down to
4.
just 3.
Oh, they used
Yeah,
to
they
be
used to
4.
have 3. They
And
used to
then
have
other
4.
departments around us, do they?
Swissville has 2.
Pitcairn's
Pitcairn
got one.
supposedly has 1 now. The chief has 1. Elizabeth, I think, has 1 or 2. Plum had 1 or 2, and they have 0. They have none now. There was an issue there again with employees about how they couldn't come to an agreement with their bargaining unit or their rank and file.
And the city's not as flush as it once was back in
city's
the
not as
day.
flush as
We
it
used
was
to be
once.
each
Was.
precinct and
I
each
mean,
shift. and it-
there are still some specialty dogs that the county has. The county has some dogs to do, the
Yeah,
bomb
I've heard
sniffing
of
stuff at the airport, things like that. There are, state police do that. I mean, state police don't do utility dogs. They don't do like the bite and hold stuff. But they do have tracking bloodhounds. They have some, they use, labs for drug sniffing, that kind of stuff. So, and some of the breeds are better for others. I mean, usually it seems now for the utility dogs, it's the German Shepherd or the Malawats. They're the Malawats, another name. Yeah, well, they don't use Rottweilers. So,
the
but,
Hungarian-
so the answer,
Hungarian dog.
boss, is yeah, absolutely would like to get dogs. I mean, we certainly would. I mean, I'd like to get them. I would, like to maybe offset that with some more manpower, but, I know that the issue of the manpower is a tight thing here with the budget. So, you got what I want. Any other
Okay,
questions?
any other questions?
Councilman Hizzy, did I do okay?
No.
Stop
missing one card.
You're
Still too long, but
That's 5 minutes.
Excellent job, chief.
I appreciate, as always, I certainly do, and I know that the officers that I talk to really, well, all the officers really do participate, really appreciate the support we get from our elected officials. We don't, in some places, they're looking over their shoulders all the time. The police officers kind of have, because we're getting thrown in a unique situation now. And I've seen it come up and go. It kind of, I say, goes full circle, because when I came on in '85, we're kind of just getting out of the '70s, and you were seeing a more law and order thing, and then you're kind of seeing it go back to there's a little pushback about what law enforcement does. But I don't hear any of the officers ever say anything that none of our elected officials or our elected officials are looking to, put them in a no-win situation. That's all we ask, is give us direction and let us, do the job that we do here. And I think we do a pretty good job.
And well, you usually submit a report about your operational tempo and stuff too, that comes with it, so it may be numb. But how would you summarize that from last year and as years have gone on? Because we know
The operation tempo's picked up. I mean, we're in that same category, about 15,000 calls for service a year. We're gonna be a little bit higher this year, when we play it out at the end of the year. But the type of incidents that we are seeing, they're different than they were years past, certainly pre-pandemic.
Well, your accomplishments for the year are in here.
Yeah.
To bring it out.
Yeah, we've done,
publicly.
so, I mean, so we've done, and we had a pretty tough year this year on the homicide side of it. We had a couple, and that was unusual for us. But, if we went back prior to that, there was 3 or 4, 5 years that we had none. Knock on wood, on the highways, we've been a lot safer, but like 2 years ago, we had a bad time on a roadway with pedestrian fatalities and vehicle fatalities. So that's something that we try to, address by traffic enforcement, but the fatalities and, of course, law enforcement. I think the important part of it is that the follow-up that is done both at the patrol and the detective side of this, we make arrests on those cases. And when you make those arrests, you certainly prevent them from doing those same crimes, that same people. That's our goal.
Somebody to say that.
So,
Excellent.
I'll try not to.
All right, one last thing, National Incident Management System, just a comment for council. Council, because Doug's there, you should be online doing that test if you haven't, which one it is. Which one is it, Doug? The one
100 and 200 needs to be done for elected officials.
Because I was going through some stuff.
The county
We
keeps
have it.
talking about coming out and putting on a national incident management program one evening for elected officials.
Yeah.
They initially were gonna use, we immediately, when they offered that, I said, absolutely, we got the facilities, we're blessed for that. That's the other, we just probably didn't talk at all about, but the Public Safety Training Center continues to get used a ton, more than it's been used in a long time. Of course, obviously, the in-person stuff's back because of COVID being out of the way here, or the pandemic hopefully being totally over. But the reality is that we certainly have the facilities, and they were gonna come out here and do this, and then, of course, the pandemic hit, and there goes 2 years, But if you get a chance to go online and do that 100, 200, what it basically tells everyone here, and, you guys don't read
We
it,
don't count,
obviously,
yeah,
I'm looking at my, but what it, and even Mike, you've been through some of this too with Public Works, but what it tells you is that, if we get into a situation where we have to start implementing emergency management, we keep it at the lowest level possible. That's what we want to do. And 99% of the time now, maybe even 99.5 or 8% of the time, we're doing it. We keep it with the fire department, police department, and some mutual aid, it's done. But if it comes into a more long-term thing, you probably need to understand what we're going to have to do as the county gets in here and then the state comes in. God forbid we'd have something like what happened in Florida here a few weeks ago with hurricanes or bad flooding. And usually that's what it is for us. Usually it is a flooding event that puts us in a
Severe weather.
situation where we can't provide the necessary services, we get overwhelmed. But that's only happened once-ish. Maybe a snow event, and even the snow event's short-lived. It's 24 hours, 36 hours, and it's back to normal.
Yeah, we usually handle those things
We
pretty
can
well.
and we handle very well. And matter of fact, we're the ones that then gotta go help other people
Yes, we
again.
did.
And that's very true. And again, the fire guys, hats off to them too. They're a big part of that. But, yeah, we're good. But you understand that what we're gonna do with that, incident commands is a good class to take, that 1 and 200. You guys don't need the more advanced 3 and 400. That's the 1 and 200. You can do them online, kind of explains how it goes.
And there's an introductory course that's still floating around out there that kind of explains it out to you. The 700, it's okay, to do that. There has to be one person usually to have that, because it also requires be able to interact with the federal government, so that somebody does that, but to do that. But our role as elected officials under Title 35 is a little better defined than it's been in a long time. There's been some improvements coming across from the state in terms of doing it. They're updating some of that in terms of training and application, to do that. And
We're trying to do more with our hazards, but like, this year was the first time that every municipality in the county of Allegheny passed a hazard mitigation plan approval. You guys did that by ordinance or resolution a few more years ago. So the reality is they're doing a better job. We quarterly meet those people. Obviously, we could do the Zoom meetings now, it makes everybody can attend them. We do quarterly meetings that we all attend. It's done a lot better. And the big important thing just to remember, again, I'm getting a little long-winded, Joe, sorry, is that if 2 communities are involved in the disaster,
the county.
the county's in charge of it. If 2 counties are involved in it, the state catches it. If 2 states get involved in it, like something happened with the hurricane, FEMA catches it, goes to the feds. So if you remember kind of stuff like that, that's kind of a basic core thing that, if we're getting overwhelmed and the county's getting overwhelmed, the state's coming in. And, our advantage is, like, as you just said, is we have a lot of resources that we can hold our own. And the idea is to hold your own for 72 hours, and then, you know, and of course, that's everything from power to water and all that kind of stuff. So we're good. We're good on that. We're gonna, you know, we'll tighten some things up here in the future, and we're keeping up to date on all those events.
Excellent. Chief,
Thanks,
keep up
yeah.
the good work. Thank you
Thanks-
so much.
Thank you for your time,
Thank you,
everybody.
Chief.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
Council, we're going to move through our agenda here. Is there, at this point, any discussion about the budget? Anything in general, or anything that was covered this evening? Seeing none, moving on, we have our next budget hearing announcement is, once again, next Thursday, November 3rd, at 6:30 PM. Moving on, public comment period. Is there anyone that would like to address council on this budget? The floor is yours. Seeing none, we're going to close that comment period. And before we adjourn, keep in mind, Halloween is, trick-or-treating is Monday. Halloween night, October 31st, 6 to 8 PM. There we go. And with that, I want to seek a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Is there a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you and good night.
3 hours on my back, I need